We see powerhouse roster after powerhouse roster in NA. That's why it's been so close for the top four. But now Never Lucky and the Super Frogs will go head-to-head. We're going to see that composition that Never Lucky used yesterday that we saw in EU. But you're going up against Chanimal, an absolute god.
This composition is unique to North America, with Storm running at first, Nesper and Maldiva, the Destruction Warlock, Assassination Rogue, and Super Frogs are looking to rely on it here in game number one, facing down Never Lucky's Windwalker, Death Knight, Mistweaver composition. So it's the first time we'll really get to see this matchup play out, but the boys weren't able to take him out either. So we see pressure on Chanimal early on. Iron Bark needs to be enough here. If they overlap with Unending Resolve, that's going to be devastating. I mean, maybe they have to. Chanimal's just taking a beating.
Oh, that is a rough start.
Big damage coming into Chanimal there, but also on the side of Valido is going to have to deflect with that anti-magic zone. And now Zach is taking a little bit of the damage, and I want to see them do exactly this. I want to see them punish Zach and try to force him back. As we see Colo activate that Way of the Crane, though, no Iron Bark available for Cubsy. How are you going to deflect this? This could potentially be the Unending Resolve. Chanimal is trying to hold on to it. Beautiful death grip there onto Cubsy, interrupting that heal, but Chanimal should be able to stabilize for now as that Way of the Crane threat has faded. And Colo didn't combine it with that Mana Tea, I don't believe. So that's going to cost him a big chunk of that mana. As we see Cubsy sit down as well for a drink. Colo, though, going to be able to stop that with the Paralyze as they look to turn the pressure actually onto Colo. Snuts looking for a nice swap here, followed up by the bash. Big damage here onto Colo, but he does get that Life Cocoon out by the skin of his teeth.
I will say just the mana management from Colo is way less efficient than we saw from the European counterpart Looney, and that's been the big difference between those teams overall. And it could just also be experience. We've seen Looney even in Legion focusing on that Mistweaver a lot more heavily, and Colo may have been spreading his resources too thin. They've definitely got good setup, but they need that late game potential as well if they're going to take down such a formidable opponent as Chanimal.
I don't think that the question with Never Lucky is going to be what they decide to play. It is whether or not they've been able to invest time into all of these different counter comps that they do focus on. When we saw Colo able to win with this composition with Zach and Valido, it was very much focused on targeting Mez when he was playing a Death Knight, and he was able to actually make sure with Grapple Weapon they were taking that out of the equation. You couldn't Death Strike, you couldn't stay healthy. Chanimal is going to receive a lot of pressure here. Way of the Crane going to be shrugged off by a Fear. Chanimal still hasn't had to trade out that Unending Resolve, and it's going to be Zach who takes a little bit of the pressure here, even though that major cooldown is going to be used to keep him healthy.
Their damage and their setup looks good on the side of Never Lucky, but we saw that Looney had a mana lead over Chaz, whereas right now it's pretty much even. At least pressure still in favor of Never Lucky as Chanimal tries to battle back. Dark Soul rolling. He really wants to get some big burst off, looking for a Chaos Bolt. Gets one onto Valido, but with Anti-Magic Shield trades quite evenly. Snuts is trying to pressure down Colo in a solo mission, and I don't think an Assassination Rogue, maybe with a Spell Lock, is Snuts going to be able to take Colo down by himself here behind the pillar. He at least gets Life Cocoon for that effort, which is a lot better than nothing. Cubsy gripped into the stun, but now with double Mortal Coil, Chanimal defends.
Yeah, and Snuts is actually doing so much work in this matchup, consistently swapping to Colo with those kidney shots, applying pressure there, making sure he has bleeds onto Valido as well as Zach, and he also is playing that Flying Daggers, Hidden Blades build, making sure that his Fan of Knives is just doing tons and tons of damage whenever he's hitting multiple targets. As you can see at the bottom of your screen there, now we see a big push happening onto Chanimal. He might have to use his Unending Resolve here. Cubsy, though, looking to deflect with the Iron Bark. Also a nice blind sap there onto Colo, playing that Relentless talent. He's going to deny majority of that Way of the Crane, and Colo again did not combo it with that Mana Tea, so now he's basically running out of mana. Cubsy still has a lot of mana to work with. Chanimal still has his Unending Resolve available. Super Frogs have a big lead at the moment.
Never Lucky, they're over eager. Zach is getting bursted down with Infernos having landed. If Chanimal could sneak in a Chaos Bolt, it could snag him a kill. Multiple members at critically low health. Chanimal goes for the Chaos Bolt. Anti-Magic Zone and Life Cocoon soak the hit and keep Colo alive, but his mana is just so tapped. Zach now dips low. Touch of Karma redirects We could see another ward potentially from Chanimal. Wants to hold on to it for the Maledict push. Ring of Peace, knocking Chanimal out in the open. He's getting bursted, potentially anyway. Never Lucky can just overwhelm the Super Frog. Zac still on the back foot. Snuts on target. Nice kick onto Colo. Good setup here by the team of the Super Frogs. All three targets in tons of trouble. Colo manages somehow to struggle through it and at least keep them alive, but for how much longer can he really do it? Ducking around the corner. Zac catches a couple of Vivifies. Valido soaks the hit with anti-magic shield. They're spreading their defense effectively, but with kidney shot secured, Valido once again carries. Good interrupt. Colo flails to stay alive. If he can somehow get mana for a Way of the Crane, they could run Chanimal over. Colo needs to live to that point.
Yeah, and now we see again the Iron Bark from Cubsy preemptively placed onto Chanimal, but it might not be enough as he's taking huge damage. Nice follow-up stun there onto Cubsy as well, but Cubsy should be able to deflect because of that preemptive Iron Bark. Now Zac taking the brunt of the damage, caught up in that kidney shot, Sid.
Huge Chaos Bolt. Zac portals out of line of sight, ducking for cover, but Valido's now left out alone in midfield. Chanimal looks to set up and close this. Both healers basically tapped on mana and completely tapped on defense. Zac needs a few more seconds. Valido once again soaking huge hits for the team with that Icebound Fortitude, dampening having just stepped foot in the arena. Cubsy's looking for a drink. They have to stop that. Colo's blind breaks. Critical mistake here by the side of the Super Frogs. Maybe an opening for Colo. Way of the Crane gets activated. Touch of Karma redirects the damage. This is going to be a huge hit on Chanimal. Even though Zac is very low on health, the damage could just overwhelm Chanimal as Never Lucky battle to stay in it. Cubsy needs 5 more seconds. I don't think he's going to get it. He gets stun locked. Chanimal defends once again. Double Mortal Coil isn't going to be enough. Chanimal lives to the Iron Bark. Zac gets life cocooned. Both teams continue trading, but there's now once again nothing for Chanimal, nothing for Zac, and it's a game of chicken. Who is going to run first? Zac is just running headlong in with that touch of death, but he's so low. Colo tries to make it over, catch one heal, but Snuts shadow steps to Colo to kill Zac around the corner. Super Frogs put a point on the board.
And this composition all the way up to 4th. That really is their goal, to try to make that giant leap. But currently it is the Super Frogs that are getting that leap in this series.
Yeah, and there's not that big of a difference between 8th and 4th. It's only a 32-point difference. So if they can do well in this tournament, they can absolutely make that leap and be in that top 4, which is going to be ultra important. Nice little setup here early on, coming in from Never Lucky. Chanimals gets bursted down, and what we're really looking for in this game is how aggressive is Colo going to play. Is he just going to use the Way of the Crane on cooldown? Is he going to really pick his moment? Right now, Never Lucky actually has a lot of pressure rolling.
Yeah, and we see Colo immediately activating that Way of the Crane, not combo with the Mana Tea again. Big damage though coming in here. He activates his personal defensive cooldown as well, so he can kind of negate that swap. Colo is going to be forced to use his human ray shell, and he actually went in there and burned quite a bit of cooldowns. Had one big beefy Chaos Ball from Chanimal connects. We see big damage here from Chanimal, counter pressuring Zac as well, dropping fairly low here, but as Chanimal seems to be the one taking the brunt of the damage, he's going to activate that Cataclysm, try to counter pressure Zac back, but Zac just seems to be unrelenting with that pressure, and if one of these Chaos Balls sneaks through from Chanimal, we could see a touch of Karma potentially coming out very early on in this match.
Yeah, Snuts realizing he needs to help Chanimals out here, get a little pressure. Like you said, Zac and Valido, they have a lot of self-healing and interrupts available for Chanimal, so him generating pressure by himself isn't necessarily that easy. So if Snuts just sits on Colo, I don't think they're going to be able to get a whole bunch done, but I do really like when Snuts makes the swaps on Colo. So gets a kidney shot when Colo moves in. That's a great opportunity to really punish him. Cubsy looking for some mana. Colo shuts it down, and Colo's been doing a little bit better job in this matchup, conserving that mana, and that's something that Never Lucky definitely has in their favor. They could potentially get a massive mana lead.
And Zico, one of my big questions for you, we talk about the Way of the Crane. We know how strong it was yesterday. It was all about those Way of the Crane goes, trying to close out the game as quickly as possible. In this particular matchup, how do you want to see this powerful offensive and defensive ability used?
Well, I want to see the Iron Bark of Cubsy, like right now, completely forced. Then I want to see Chanimal drop fairly low, and then I want to see Colo push in for the Paralyze, go for the Way of the Crane. Nice knock there with that Ring of Peace onto Chanimal. He's actually going to get rooted down there as well. Chanimal, again though, playing with that Reflect, going to reflect one of those Maledict trinkets. Going to save him a lot of the pressure. Colo now going for the Paralyze into the leg sweep. This could be a beautiful opportunity to activate that Way of the Crane, but Cubsy's going to deflect with his trinket. Chanimal, though, not out of the woods yet, as we see his Gladiator's Medallion procced, and there we go. Colo gonna be using a way of the crane, but Snuts again deflecting with a nice blind stab. Zach though taking big pressure. Touch of Karma might not even be enough. He might need to port out of there completely. Colo not getting a single global up with that way of the crane. Zach no longer has that touch of Karma. Colo caught up in the kidney shot. We see the Maledict Trinket flying to Zach. He could potentially just go down all the way right here. Another Maledict Trinket flying in behind that pillar as Zach might be battling for his life, and he will go down.
That was I feel like Zach way overstayed his welcome in that situation. He could have just
to multi-class and to try to get enough points to make it to the land. But if they don't manage to pull off this victory here, they're going to have a rematch against Method Orange to try to get to the grand final.
And I'm actually a little surprised for Never Lucky. Zach actually in the last map was the main target, but he's actually opted to go with out the Fortifying Elixir, which is a bit curious as it is such a solid amount of defense available for him. Early on, Never Lucky push in. They get the triple leg sweep onto Chanimals, Nuts, and Cubsy. Good amount of pressure here, but Chanimals responds with his Infernals, looking to really counter pressure Never Lucky.
I mean, Chanimals just under huge pressure right now by Never Lucky. Deflects with the double Mortal Coil right at the final second, now looking to counter aggress. Trying to find a target. Snuts is going after Colo. Chanimal is trying to fear up the DPS and slow down the assault. Ring of Peace misses a bit there. They can easily go in and out of the room. I was really hoping that we'd see a double Ring of Peace and just pin Chanimal against the wall during the Infernals, and that way he can't counter aggress and just run him over, but we haven't seen that double Ring of Peace strategy just yet from Never Lucky. In the meantime, momentum swings in favor of the Super Frogs. Colo trades, but now Zach is left open. He has to exchange Touch of Karma to stay in the fight. Toledo still has options. Colo gets feared away, and this is the thing that I love about Chanimal is even though the pressure is all on him, he still finds opportunity to get out key spells. These Chaos Bolts alongside that Smoke Bomb could have been devastating. Zach manages to barely escape.
Yep, Chanimals with a great positioning allows Snuts to get off a lot of damage with that Flying Daggers build. Finally, it looks like Never Lucky, they realize this is maybe not a favored position for them, as all three members still trying to run down Chanimals. Cubsy actually potentially sitting down for a drink, recovers all of his mana, and that is a great spot to be in for the Super Frogs. Colo once again, where the crane gets activated, but he's just throwing away his mana. This is definitely a risky strategy. It could pay off, but Zach really low, no Touch of Karma, doesn't have the defense of the Fortifying Elixir. Diffuse Magic already used. Complete retreat here from Never Lucky.
Yeah, they need to reset, wait for defensive cooldowns before making another push, because if they try to right now, Super Frogs will punish surely and execute this series 3-0, which is highly unexpected in the matchup that we were predicting, having seen the performance from the European region. Snuts gets bursted down in a swap by Never Lucky. Trades out that feint, starting to slowly recover, but Cubsy regenerated full mana. Now there is no late game advantage either for Never Lucky. They will have to win in an overwhelming push, and I'm almost wondering if it's a better strategy for them to just attack Snuts around the pillar, wait until dampening and make a big push like we saw against Swapsy's Destruction Warlock, because right now things are falling apart.
It was a bit of a miscommunication there for Never Lucky. Colo charges in with the way of the crane. Zach ports out a line of sight across the map, so definitely not ideal offensive pressure there from Never Lucky in that situation. But now with the triple leg sweep, this is the kind of damage. These are the setups that we want to see. Chanimal's getting low, getting bursted down. Double leg sweep. That was nicely done. Good communication by Zach and Colo. Chanimal getting low. Iron Bark, unending resolve. Everything committed. Chanimal's looking for counter pressure. Anti-magic zone gets dropped out by Valido to really shut that down. Cubsy tops him off, but what a scary moment that was for Super Frogs.
All right, Never Lucky, they've still got damage and big push potential here against the Super Frogs. They're on match point. They have to swing 3 in a row. Will they be able to pull it off is the question. Super Frogs have great pressure, great setup as we see a kill attempt here onto Zach. Colo denies it, so Snuts is going to switch targets, going after Colo in the backline while Chanimal builds pressure in other places. Maledict attempt here on Zach, multiple incoming. Diffuse Magic well timed on Zach's part to remove that healing absorption effect, and now this next wave of the crane really needs to get a kill. Colo needs to wait for that Manatee. Chanimal knows that it's coming. He's trying to retreat even further away, out position, and this way Colo will stack up for that Flying Daggers build. I like this repositioning from Chanimal, but in the meantime, Never Lucky pulled the trigger first, pulling Cubsy into the fight. He opts to use that Glider's Medallion, knowing their defense is quite limited. This could be the final push of the game from Never Lucky if they want want to stay in the upper bracket. Do they have enough damage to take down Chanimal with this push? The crowd control looks good, but Colo gets feared on the crane. Chanimal gets to safety, and Chanimal's positioning just looks immaculate.
And it always is. Chanimal, such an all-star for this roster on the Destruction Warlock. Colo almost completely tapped on mana at this point. Zach's got to be feeling a little bit scared too. His Saphira on the Chanimals. Life Cocoon finally connects from Colo to keep Zach alive, but still another 8 seconds on that touch of Karma. And until then, Zach is increasingly vulnerable. Incapacitate on Cubsy. Still Never Lucky, looking to find pressure on the Chanimals, but there's just so much momentum for Super Frogs right now. Colo is really going to struggle to recover.
That Flying Daggers build from Snuts is developing huge momentum for the team. Zach has to exchange his final defense, maybe go all out for a kill, but then he gets feared on it. Chanimal knows exactly how to deny every single push that Never Lucky throws his way. Cubsy still with a significant mana lead. Snuts is just training down Colo. Ring of Peace at least protects Colo maybe for a bit, but Chanimals is finally getting bursted. He's trying to counter pressure with the Dark Soul. It's a game of chicken here. Who is going to end up running away first? Snuts is coming back to the battle. Colo might go for a drink, but Zach is too exposed. They drop the smoke bomb. The Super Frogs trying to close this out. Zach portals to safety, but how safe is it? Snuts closes in to try and get the kill, interrupting Colo's heals. Zach is still low on health. Snuts has pressure on multiple players. Chanimal is 1v1ing Valido in midfield, and it's not looking too good for Never Lucky.
No, Snuts moves in. Kidney shot on Colo, still trying to take down Zach. Zach trying to survive, incapacitate paralysis onto Snuts. Colo low, really no mana left, but he does. He uses the Way of the Crane.
Evasion.
Can they deny him? Evasion denies all of the healing. Colo has to find a target, but he just can't. Life Cocoon gets traded out full blind by Snuts. Colo trinkets out. Snuts basically forcing every single thing Colo had left in that exchange. He gets the trinket, he gets the Life Cocoon, he gets Way of the Crane. Colo with really running on fumes. Vendetta gets used onto Zach. Zach, no touch of Karma. Another 10 seconds. Can they take him down? Even Cubsy's getting into the fight with some Solar Wrath. Zach running away. He has to retreat. Only needs to keep him alive for just a little bit longer. Never Lucky does manage to stay alive.
Staying alive, but definitely not getting aggressive whatsoever. And now the defense for the Super Frogs has rotated back up and available. Cubsy looks like he's sneaking away to regenerate mana just to secure this and close it out if it does go longer. And he's got a significant lead now over Colo. Snuts is the target. Potentially they can take him out. I'm very surprised that we haven't seen swaps to hit Snuts earlier on in the fight. That Rogue is much more likely to go down than the Destruction Warlock. Never Lucky, they look cheeky in their play, but their defense and their late game potential is just lacking in the tournament today. They're going to want to clean it up if they end up going down to the lower bracket to face against Method Orange. Snuts Shadow stepping out defensively, realizing he's vulnerable. Instead, is just going to kite Zach and Valido as long as he can, and hopefully Chanimal can develop some pressure. Full Fear secured. Infernals have landed. Chanimal taking this game into his own hands here. Anti-Magic Zone will trade, but Zach gets Mortal Coiled out of it. Colo opts to use the Life Cocoon, but now Colo has limited defense. Snuts doesn't seem to care. He's just using Kidney Shot to stall, trying to get that mana advantage really in his favor. All 3 targets low on health. No mana in sight for Colo to Way of the Crane, and Super Frogs continue to squeeze their grip.
Yeah, Never Lucky, though. They've been doing a good job. Colo, with no mana, has been able to keep his team alive. But like you said, there's just not that much pressure. Chanimal, still with the Unending Resolves, can be feeling healthy. Now Kidney Shot secured onto Valido. He responds with the Icebound Fortitude and will trade evenly to stay alive. Snuts now turning his attention onto Zach as he rolls away. And Super Frogs are doing a great job denying these kills, but they're just not actually finding the killing blow in this matchup. But potentially could only be a matter of time. We're at 18% dampening. Colo's actually been regenerating mana at this point with how defensive Never Lucky's playing. He's really not having to throw out too much healing, saving some mana. Potentially looking for one more push with that Way of the Crane.
This is what I thought they should do just throughout the entire game. Just attack Snuts if he overextends, line of sight the Warlock, then deep dampening, push the Warlock over. I mean, that's what we saw happen in Europe as well. So it's just a safer route, but Never Lucky don't want to play for the safer route. They just like getting in there and trying to get a kill. But in the current meta, I just don't think that play style is going to pay off. Snuts getting a lot of Flying Daggers, Fan and Knives. They grip Chanimal behind the corner, trying desperately to get an Unending Resolve with this push. If they are unable to get that defensive cooldown, that it is really starting to look grim because the mana lead is so much in favor of Cubsy. Super Frogs on match point. Never Lucky need a kill right here and right now. And Chanimal gates to safety. Zack in hot pursuit with the Fist of Fury flying. Ironbark denies the kill there. Now Valido getting pressured. Colo dips low. Unending Resolve exchanged aggressively, but Ring of Peace locks Chanimal in the room, potentially out of line of sight. Now Cubsy is able able to heal from his current position, but still, the Unending Resolve is now down. Triple stun secured. It's looking good for Never Lucky to punch back in this fight. And Chanimal, what are you gonna do? There's nothing left for him to stay alive. Cubsy can't keep him up, and Never Lucky managed to stay in it by just slowing down, staying calm.
After this map, regardless of what happens here, I think Never Lucky are going to be picking potentially the Blades Edge arena, and I think that could potentially be very, very good for them.
All right, a potential idea of what could happen in a Game 5, but Never Lucky needs to extend the series that far first. Otherwise, the Super Frogs are going to leap straight into the Grand Final.
All right, here we go, everybody. We're in the upper bracket. Never Lucky. This is the day of Colo's revenge. Will he actually get to enact on it is now the question. They're already down 2 games facing the Super Frogs, and the Super Frogs have strategically set themselves up well here with this broad composition. I think the Shadow Priest is the best of both worlds between the consistent damage that the Destruction Warlock may have brought and the burst that the Elemental Shaman could have brought to the table. It's definitely the safest pick and the best route to victory for the Super Frogs. But still, we saw the boys able to pull off victory in this same disadvantaged situation, so we cannot completely count Never Lucky out just yet.
Ooh, I actually really like this build from Wealthy Man. We don't normally see mages drop their water elemental, but I think in this particular matchup, it's very likely that Snuts is the main target. So what Wealthy Man's decided to do is he's basically loaded himself up with every single Frostbolt buffer in the game. For Azerite Trace, he is going with the Tunnel of Ice as well as the Flash Freeze, and he has the Lonely Winter, which is going to make it so he doesn't have a water elemental, but increases the damage of his Frostbolt, Ice Lens, and Flurry by 25%. So if he can basically sit back and turret, he's going to be able to do a lot of damage. But if Never Lucky punish him and they train him down, his damage output will be severely limited.
I'm really curious to see what Snuts can get done if he's left open. In the meantime, instead, Never Lucky switched their attention to him, bursting him down. Vampiric Embrace, good exchange of cooldowns by the team of Super Frogs, pairing that immediately after the use of Iron Bark so that the utility is spread evenly, and there will always be an answer for every push that Never Lucky throws their way. Having gotten that defense, we now see Never Lucky retreat away, pulling Wealthy Man around the corner, but as they pull him in, he activates Temporal Shield, so it's soaking up all this damage, heals him back up quite easily, and even though it was a good swap, that he gets away and Zac gets bursted. He cannot afford to make a mistake like portaling nowhere in the future. A push like that in dampening definitely would be a kill. Colo falling behind. Super Frogs looking solid here in Game 4.
Definitely, I'm trying to figure out what build Snuts is playing, if he's playing the Shadowy Apparitions with the Auspicious Spirits, and it looks like that is what he's going to be going after, so gets a little bit of instant cast damage. When a Shadow Word Pain does crit, he's going to get additional damage from that, especially if Vampiric Touch, sorry, is on the target. And I think both Snuts and Wealthy Man really looking for high damage builds, and it's going to force Never Lucky to run and hide in these matchups, really force them to just play it patient, look for grip kills, because if they do play on the open on Tolvaron Arena, with the build Snuts and Wealthy Man are playing, they are going to be able to easily take them down.
Yeah, the double caster threat, definitely a good strategic choice by the Super Frogs here on game number 4 as they look to just close the series out 3-1. Cubsy needs to keep his eye on his mana into the late game. Colo on that Mistweaver will outdo him unless he is able to find opportunities to drink and regenerate mana. Wealthy Man laying Blizzard on the corner of the pillar, so what the enemy team tries to retreat, he can maybe sneak in an extra Frostbolt. I like Snuts' positioning on the opposite side of the pillar so that this way, if Never Lucky try and retreat, at least Snuts or Wealthy Man will be able to attack. Even one at a time is better than no one.
Yeah, definitely. The math checks out. The only problem is when Snuts is on one side and Wealthy Man's on the other, that leaves Cubsy in sort of an awkward position where he has to choose which one of them he's going to be healing up. Luckily for Cubsy, he's feeling confident to push in, get behind the pillar, and heal both of them up. Now Zac forced to retreat once again as they're looking for a push onto Snuts. Nice double fear, setting up some damage. Colo in midfield, potentially looking for a Way of the Crane, but could just get polymorphed up by Wealthy Man, and once again, Never Lucky, they're forced to retreat.
Never Lucky, though, of managing their mana much better. If Colo had had this mana management earlier in the series, maybe they could have just 3-0'd Super Frogs. So definitely that's going to be a thought going through Never Lucky's mind here as they desperately try to crawl back in this series to reverse sweep the Super Frogs. Gripping Snuts into the battle, double stun lock combination. Doesn't net them any defense. This is a bit disrespectful on the side of the Super Frogs and disappointing for Never Lucky, to say the least.
Yeah, no question about it. Colo throwing out the Life Cocoon before he goes into the Polymorph. And there's not a lot of threat that Never Lucky will go down with this positioning, at least not until later on, but Never Lucky, they're going to have to decide which target do they want to go after. So far, it seems like they're just trying to find opportunities on whoever's closest. So it's a closest wizard strategy, as some players call it. Whatever one of these two casters is closest, that's the one that they will attack, just so they don't have to compromise their position. And I don't mind that. Cubsy and Stealth. Actually, he needs to be careful, though. If he gets gripped in and caught into a leg sweep, that's definitely an opportunity for Never Lucky to just all in him. But Cubsy, being an expert druid, he knows the threat, and he doesn't want to have any part of it. Wealthy Man now caught into a full leg sweep. Snuts is going to have to try to find some counter pressure. Wealthy Man blinks away. And now at 2% dampening, things are going to start ramping up very quickly for these teams. And Never Lucky, they're not going to be able to afford to just sit and hide behind the pillar.
Oh, Snuts gets pinned against the pillar. Things are getting riveting for the Super Frogs. Triple Psychic Stream by Snuts to try and deflect. Will it be enough? It looks like it's going to be with Cubsy's Iron Bark, and we'll finally answer the question if the Super Frogs are indeed unhoppable.
Unhoppable. I get it. Instead it's unstoppable. Stop throwing things, Rich.
Rich.
Wealthy Man getting bursted down. Temporal Shield was used. Looks like Snuts is going to be able to save him with that life grip. Definitely important for Super Frogs in terms of defense. If Wealthy Man ever gets caught without a shimmer, he's behind the pillar. Snuts can use the Leap of Faith to grip him to safety. And, I mean, that's going to pay off dividends for Super Frogs. They don't really get any defensive cooldowns traded out, even though that was a nice attempt by Never Lucky. Still just hiding behind the pillar. Colo, like you said, he's been managing his mana quite well. Cubsy isn't falling behind. He's been going for drinks when he really needs to. And both of these teams really don't want to commit in this matchup.
These grip, stun, pin at the pillar strategies from Never Lucky are cute, but you need to be deadly, not cute in a tournament setting. Will they have enough damage later in the match to net themselves objectives like Ice Block or Dispersion is the question. So far, it hasn't been enough damage, and dampening now at 11%. Cubsy has maintained his mana for the late game. I would like to see Wealthy Man and Snuts split up. They actually swapped to Colo, catching him a bit out of position. Anti-magic zone of Valido saves him. Cubsy pauses his health with a Cyclone and then sneaks away into the room to drink, not overextending. Realizing the enemy team may try and retreat, so he wants to try and take advantage of that moment of defense to regenerate mana, and I think he was able to. He's back to full. Definitely solid for the Super Frogs here in game number 4.
Yeah, Cole's sitting down, trying to recover some mana. Doesn't really have any opportunity. The Wealthy Man has Touch of Death on him right now. This is a scary situation for the Super Frogs, because he might have to commit the Iron Bark. Still opting not to. Silence now on Colo. Zach getting bursted down as Life Cocoon gets traded out by Colo to keep Zach afloat as he pushes into the midfield. Wealthy Man blinks away. And now Never Lucky, they have overstayed their welcome. Snuts with the beautiful mind control, bringing Valido back into the open. And these situations where Never Lucky, they make a push, it's going to be becoming more and more difficult for Colo to actually recover. Now another swap on a Colo. Cubsy moving in, gets the bash. What is Colo going to trade out? He ports away, dispels himself. It should be just fine.
Yeah, will Never Lucky choke, or will the Super Frogs croak? We'll find out here, as Never Lucky desperately want to battle this series back and just secure a spot in the grand finals and sit comfortably there rather than have to play out a potential fatiguing series against Method Orange. In the meantime, Snuts secures triple crowd control for the team and tries to set up burst, fake casting multiple interrupts. Snuts MVP really for the team of Super Frogs, multi-classing his strategy, his communication, his playmaking capability. I am more than ecstatic to see Snuts' return to the tournament setting. He could definitely be a top contender for North America to take out Europe in the spring finals later this year. They're looking solid and well-rounded. I think even if the meta changes, they'll still have an answer. Never Lucky gripping Snuts in and trying to catch him off guard. Dampening's pretty high, Snuts. You're trying to get away without using Dispersion. Iron Bark appears to be enough for now as Snuts makes his getaway.
He fades, and I think at this point Snuts is going to start playing a lot more cautious, but all three members of Never Lucky, they're moving in. If they can get Dispersion, Snuts could be in a lot of trouble, but he manages to escape. Full Polymorph onto Colo. Life Cocoon gets dropped out. Now, once again, Never Lucky, they have to retreat, but the thing is, for Snuts, he still has his Trinket rotating back up, Dispersion available, Fade's going to be up, and they didn't really get any of those major defensive cooldowns they needed to.
Colo portaling back. What I've noticed here is that when Never Lucky makes a big three-man push, right at the end of it, we see Super Frogs switch to Colo and try and burst him down. Now that they've done that a couple of times, I feel like Colo should be ready for it, so he can preemptively activate the fortifying elixir, reduce damage on himself, increase his max health, and make it much less likely that he dies. But so far, they haven't gotten any of the major objectives. No Void Shift and no Ice Blocks. Never Lucky really, this is the point where they should be starting to get those major objectives so that they can get a kill at the 40 or 50% dampening mark. Snuts is positioning so that Zach has to chase him into that wizard corner. This is exactly where Wealthy Man wants them. Look at all three members out in midfield. Ripe for the pickings here of Wealthy Man. Zach gets bursted, but he's trying to race for a kill as well with Touch of Death, amplifying his damage. Snuts needs to be careful. Dispersing on very low health. This is going to be a game of chicken, and towards the end of deep dampening, who's going to fall first? It's anyone's match.
Yep, they did get the dispersion from Snuts, but it's only a minute and a half cooldown, so that rotates up rather quickly, and Zach committed quite a bit there. The Diffuse Magic, Touch of Karma, Touch of Death, basically everything. Now comes into the Incapacitate. They're looking to take down Snuts. He trinkets out. He's looking to make a getaway. Zach getting counter-pressured away by Wealthy Man. Wealthy Man almost has that very powerful cooldown. Icy Veins up in 14 seconds, and that's really when he's going to be able to solo the team. With the build he's playing, his Frostbolts are going to hit very hard if he can get a Flurry proc and shatter that damage. Bash now onto Colo. Valido and Zach really going to have to think twice about just leaving Wealthy Man alone, but Snuts really is the best kill target for them at this point, so it's kind of do or die.
I mean, he is for roughly 38 seconds or so, and then after that, it's a complete reset. Whereas getting the Ice Blocks from Wealthy Man would be a lot more valuable as they're a 5-minute cooldown. So I would say that Super Frogs are in a position to just clean up this series and walk away with it. Perfectly timed Psychic Scream by Snuts denies the way of the Crane. Colo kind of walking into that and asking for it. Now polymorphed on. This is devastating for Never Lucky. Zach is just getting obliterated. Touch of Karma may not even be enough. Snuts is going to race against it to try and find a kill. Diffuse Magic keeps Zach afloat a little bit longer, but how much so is the case? Basically everything traded. They try and go for the kill. 2 seconds away from that dispersion. Snuts dips low, but dispersion rotates back, healing Snuts back into the fight. Zach has got to make a choice. Does he make a push with no defense, or does he just chill at the pillar for deeper dampening? It's still too close to call.
Colo is actually missing out on a lot of healing. He's not replacing his Serpent Jade statue. It's still behind the pillar at their original hiding spot, and because of that, he doesn't get that additional Soothing Mist from that talent, missing out on a lot of free healing that's uninterruptible. So potentially that's one of the reasons why Never Lucky has had to run and hide a lot more in this matchup. Snuts still taking some burst damage, but looking healthy still with Trinket and Void Shift. We really want to see Snuts hold on to his Trinket so he can always pair that with the Void Shift. Valido getting low. And this is the point of the match as well, is where Valido is very vulnerable to this damage. He's not going to be able to heal himself up for nearly as much with Death Strike. Zach getting low as well. Colo really doesn't have many tools left, and I think Zach, this is the final moment of the game. He gets behind the pillar at 1% health, keeping himself alive with Vivify, but all damage, all control with Super Frogs. This is looking like a KO, and Super Frogs manages to close out this series and make their way to the grand. Definitely have to see, when we saw this matchup take place yesterday, Never Lucky was able to destroy Mez, making him look like a little piece of paper. So he really struggled to have the single target healing. He needed to keep Mez alive off the back of the grapple weapon coming in from Colo. We'll have to see if Never Lucky can get aggressive, or Method Orange has potentially figured something out.
Yeah, let's see if they've figured out the strategy here, because this grapple weapon is going to be devastating against Method Orange. Although Colo's mana efficiency has been, I would say, lackluster at best throughout this tournament. So if Method Orange can hold out for that late game advantage, it's definitely a win condition on their side.
Yeah, definitely, no question about it. Zach getting low definitely could be a pressure point here for Method Orange. And what we wanted to see from Method Orange yesterday, once they got Colo out of mana, they have to get the pressure rolling onto Zach, which is really going to tax Colo's mana and force Zach to potentially back off a little bit in this matchup. Get off Mez for a second, allow C to a moment where he can really catch up. But for now, the primary objective for Trill is definitely going to be running Colo out of mana as soon as possible. Mez getting bursted down just a little bit. Grapple weapon not allowing him to get that Death Strike off, and that is one of the counters we talked about. When the class can disarm a Death Knight, that limits his self-healing. So when you have all your burst damage available, if you can grapple weapon, you can disarm a Death Knight, that's when you can really get some stuff rolling.
I like that both Valido and Mez have adopted the Lichborn Honor talent so they can get damage reduction every minute rather than every 3 minutes that the Icebound Fortitude would provide. I think it's a smart decision to exchange during these burst windows that each team's cleave brings to the table. Trill's mana rifts, though, are an inevitability to burn Colo out of the fight, which is what puts them on such a small clock to find a kill. Colo's actually just getting destroyed right now by Trill and barely able to even stay. Has to use Life Cocoon to just a solo Demon Hunter. Zac now gets swapped. Mez is still falling behind. Grapple Weapon denying the death strikes. C2 is crowd controlled. Colo moves in for ending the match, but walks into a triple Trill stun. Welcome to Trillville.
Yeah, but still, Mez in some trouble. Earthen Wall Totem will keep Mez alive for now. Colo could potentially have to run away, and he does. He gets the crowd control on C2. Has to really think twice, and I like this pressure on to Zac. This is what we wanted to see from Method Orange. The need to find the mana rifts on Colo, but also just pressure Zac, make him run away, and these are the opportunities where the Rising Sun Kick Mortal Wounds will fall. C2 can empower his healing without that healing reduction, but Mez could still be in some trouble. Touch of Death gets committed by Zac. Leg sweep onto C2, and Darkness gets traded out by Trill to keep his team alive.
Yeah, Method Orange just need to exchange cooldown one by one to try and take down Mez. Zac now on the back foot, needs to buy some time. Mez is still just taking a beating. He needs to stay alive just a tiny bit longer. I mean, Never Lucky took Method Orange down yesterday, but it was off the back of basically nothing left in the tank on mana. Good crowd control engagement here. Mez is in trouble. All three members collide. Mez catches the Spiritling Totem. C2 keeps him in the fight for a tad bit longer. They just need the tiniest bit further. Colo's almost completely burnt out. If they can keep denying that wave of rain, maybe Mez just dies to the pressure Valido and Zac are dishing out. C2 has to trinket out, connecting a couple of big heals in that Earthen Wall Totem. Colo gets gripped into the triple stun. Zac gets bursted down. Colo's totally tapped. Method Orange have this game.
Yep, they are at the finish line. They just need to take down Never Lucky, survive maybe one more setup that they have available. They don't have too many tools, though. Method Orange, they really don't have many answers. Triple leg sweep comes in from Zac. Good damage on Mez. They have to hold on just a little bit longer. This is what we saw yesterday from Never Lucky. They were able to get to this point and close out the game. Paralysis on C2. Mez still trying to kite away. A lot of counter pressure, though, on Zac, forcing him to run away as he gets gripped back into the fight. Life Cocoon will keep Never Lucky in it, but Mez still in a little bit of danger.
Life Cocoon saves Zac, but for how much longer? C2 surprisingly is now out of mana. The damage isn't stopping. Mez is still low. Zac is still low. It's anyone's match here in game number 1. This is an elimination best of 5. The loser of this goes home in 3rd place. Method Orange want a good position so they can potentially move up in the ladder, but so do Never Lucky. If they can secure a 4th place top finish as well, it would be so beneficial. Zac holding on by a thread. There's no mana left. Colo can't even get in the line of sight. He's snared so much. Zac has to support himself. How much longer can he do it? Fist of Fury denies the kill. C2's just in midfield chilling. There's really no pressure yet. They grapple weapon Trill. I mean, it's going to stop them from dying, but that's their win condition.
Yeah, definitely a difficult situation for Never Lucky to be in when you have to start trading out that offense for defense. Now Zac with Touch of Death rolling. I don't know if he has enough time, though. Colo getting low. Life Cocoon does get traded out. Trill gets that major objective. Colo, no mana, no Life Cocoon. Zac getting low. Do they have the Touch of Karma? They do. Zac manages to stay in it, but there's just no healing available for Colo whatsoever. Imprisonment on Zac. He's still in a lot of trouble. Has to port out of line of sight. Colo gets gripped away. Zac left all alone. Diffuse magic, maybe enough for him to survive, but with Colo on no mana, I don't know if Never Lucky will ever stabilize again.
Colo gets swapped to and bursted, ducking around the corner, healing with absolutely nothing left in the tank. Any amount of damage should be enough for Method Orange to push Never Lucky over the edge. Zac has no defense. Colo has no defense. C2's crowd controlled. Maybe they can go for one more push. Triple leg sweep. C2 trinkets out. Zac's on the run, but Trill's on the hunt. Zac manages to get around the corner, but he's not going to be able to support himself. Trill is looking to close. Triple crowd control secured, and Method Orange claim the kill in game number 1. This looks totally different than we saw yesterday.
They weren't able to do checks all of the same boxes, right? They have very similar roles. It's interesting to not see Never Lucky stick to their guns, but if you are going to try to do something a little bit off color, it is going to be in this second game, right? They still will have some breathing room after that. You don't want to be doing it when you're completely with your back against the wall. They want to be able to take this one and tie up the series.
Yeah, and one of the problems with the Warrior is he doesn't have that same sort of self-sufficiency as the Windwalker Monk, but good pressure on Mez very early on. C2 forced a trinket. Earthen Shield Totem dropped as well to keep Mez alive as he's trying to kite. And one of the things as well for Mez is with the Chains of Ice, he's going to be super effective. Can he just go down instantly? Never Lucky. They have such a tremendous amount of pressure. Method Orange has basically burned down every single one of their defensive cooldowns already.
Aggressively, the Warrior is going to bring devastation. It's just defensively that it is inferior, maybe mobility as well to the Windwalker. It's more risk versus reward, I guess, with Zach on that Arms Warrior. It was a big push early on. It netted them basically every major objective. The last line of defense will be Trill's Darkness, although now Zach falling behind as a result. We're seeing that lack of weakness. Colo caught and stunned. Mana Rifts connect. That is going to be the late game win for Trill if they just maintain that. Zach gets stunned up. Colo exchanges with the Life Cocoon. We do see the disarm run as well for the Arms Warrior. A nice countermeasure against the Unholy Death Knight's Death Strike. Mez trying to kite, gets knocked and denied on his Wraithwalk. Seadu gets stun locked. It's looking decent for Neverlucky aggressively, but they're on a short clock.
Look at Zach. He's just waddling as if Mez is a Frost Mage, keeping him rooted up and snared. His uptime on Mez has been really limited. What Mez has been doing is just running back and forth. Keep Chains of Ice on Zach. Guess what? If he doesn't have charge, he doesn't have a stun, Mez is going to be able to easily just walk away from him, avoid a lot of the damage, just like we see now. Zach can get to him with the charge, but now Mez reversing, running away. Zach luckily has the Blade Storm, but after that, that's when really Mez's kiting is going to come in huge. But he gets low, a lot of pressure still on Mez. Seadu caught into a stun. Darkness has to get dropped out as Mez was in execute range. A really scary moment for Method Orange.
Death's Advance prevents Mez from being knocked out of the Darkness, taking a page out of Swapsy's book to make sure that Darkness defense allows Mez to survive. That could have been the end of the game if Mez had no presence of mind to save that. But now he is disarmed, unable to Death Strike. Seadu has to save him. He's not casting heals. He gets stunned. Mez is still low on health. Zach looks to close it out aggressively. This comp pays off. Neverlucky put a point on the board in game number 2.
Never question. At BlizzCon, it was huge to use that Moonkin, use that Demon Hunter together, but now it does seem like a lot of the Wizards are going to be paired up together. We haven't seen Method Orange fully utilize Sam I Am yet, but Neverlucky going to try to use the composition that got them one win on the board to get on match point.
He's already under fire here by Neverlucky. Cannot afford to make a mistake as was made in game number 2 if they want to stay alive in the tournament. Huge damage still coming through from Neverlucky as Seadu's locked out of the match. Needs to be careful. Healing Tide Totem down. Consistent healing, but he needs to get a chain heal off, reposition far away from Valido's potential incoming interrupts. Instead, trying to activate some immunities to that and stabilize the team. Triple stun for Trill. Good secure here. Capacitator Totem to follow it up. With no way of the Crane, Colo's recovery will be limited, but maybe he doesn't care about recovering. It's all about chasing down Mez. Mez is playing a lot more defensive, utilizing that Chains of Ice and repositioning away to try and avoid Zach, but with Blade Storm immuning the Chains of Ice, Zach is getting uptime and Mez is getting chopped.
Yeah, Mez is trying to run away, but still Neverlucky. They have a lot of pressure in this matchup so far. They managed to find Mez with the grapple weapon. No trinket available, almost in execute range. Seadu forced overlapping Ascendance with Spirit Link Totem. Gets interrupted. Mez still not out of it yet as he looks to kite away from Zach, but Zach just goes in battle stance. Full Zug. Darkness gets dropped out by Trill. The last line of defense as Seadu finally connects some heals to keep Mez in the game.
Very close call for Method Orange here. Neverlucky almost putting them on match point, and perhaps they will moving forward. Trill, though, has still secured that mana advantage, which is of utmost importance, which is basically the only thing that they're winning on at this point. Zach has multiple defensives to burn through to stay on target. Earthen Wall Totem down. Unlikely that we see Mez go down for a few seconds until that defense has faded. They just need one good crowd control chain. Neverlucky have this. The next way of the Crane, if they can save the Manatee, push in with it with a grapple weapon or a disarm, I mean, they could just kill him here and now. They've got good crowd control. They just need to stay on target. Zach leaps over, not able to make it completely there. Sharpened Blade available. Way of the Crane up in 10. The pressure is mounting. Trill's doing his best to stall. Mana Rift connects. Colo might not have mana for it. They need to get a kill with it. They've still got pressure. Zach still a Way of the Crane available. They need to do it here and now. If they don't get a kill on Mez within maybe the next 20 seconds, it's going to be curtains for Neverlucky.
I have to agree with that, but Mez still in a little bit of danger. Zach die by the sword. Mez getting low. Stormbolt on Seadu. Almost in execute range, but they're turning around the pressure onto Zach. Mana Rift gets dropped onto Zach just for that percentage-based damage. Polo into the Mana Rift. He has to trinket out. Life Cocoon on Zach will keep him in the fight. Seadu pushes forward, lands a full Hex onto Colo, but with that Life Cocoon, Zach manages to stay alive. Asphyxiate stun. Mez looking to really get aggressive, but might get punished here. A full fear coming in. Intimidating shout from Zach. crowd controlling up Sea-Doo and Trill. Mez still left by himself to survive during this time.
Colo getting more crowd control. It's do or die. Who will fall first in this fight? Will it be Mez or will it be Zach? We're about to find out. Colo does not have the mana to Way of the Crane. He's relying on his team to deal enough damage to get the kill. Perhaps with one interrupt, Mez could fall. The pressure is still mounting as Mez barely holds on. No defense for some time on either side. Colo recovers, but a Hex by Sea-Doo could potentially close this game out. At the same time, Mez is still low on health. It's very close to call at this point in game number 3 as both of these teams face elimination. A lot of points on the line to secure their spots to that land to the spring finals later this year. Mez is trying to kite, avoid damage, and drag it out for the late game. Trill has secured that mana rift advantage, but now Sea-Doo is totally tapped. Fortunately, his defense is going to be available if Neverlucky can't get a kill soon.
Yeah, Colo, he has a life cocoon, activates it onto Zach. Now they're pushing in, trying to take Mez down with the grapple weapon. Stun onto Sea-Doo. Mez still has to kite. He has to be able to get away. Colo using the last little bit of his defensive cooldowns with that life cocoon. Nothing really available. Mez getting low. Anyone could fall during these moments. Sea-Doo has to keep him alive, and Sea-Doo actually has the Spearling Totem, the last little bit of his mana available to keep Mez in the fight if he needs it. That's the last line of defense for Method Orange. Zach getting low as well. Which one's gonna fall first, Sid?
Rallying Cry may not be enough as Zach is likely to fall here. Landing a Fear though, maybe 1% health. They've still got damage. Valido trinkets, he's not gonna be able to close it. Trill denies the kill. Zach goes all in with 1% health remaining. Almost manages to take down Mez, but almost is not enough.
Going head-to-head with the reigning BlizzCon champions. Now, Method Orange only needs one more win to get back into the good graces of the grand final. Neverlucky gonna try to stop him in their tracks and bring this one to a game number 5. And right out the gate, we are trading blows.
Yep, very early on, damage is exchanged as Zach and Valido move towards Mez. Mez, once again, we're going to be looking for him to just keep Chains of Ice up on Zach, up on Valido, really try to limit their uptime, but as long as Zach has those gap closers, he has Charge, he has Blade Storm, he will be able to put out a lot of pressure. Colo getting imprisoned on his Way of the Crane. Not a lot of healing for Zach. Nice stun lock there, forcing out the Life Cocoon, Trinket, and Way of the Crane already from Colo. But Mez under fire.
I mean, both teams exchanging huge defense in their lineup. It's match point for Method Orange. The pressure is on, and Neverlucky lock in their risky Arms Warrior composition. The Windwalker definitely more stable overall, but Neverlucky, I guess they don't have the practice on it. They want to rely more on just overwhelming their opponents, and in the current meta, they're battling an uphill fight in that regard. Trill still keeping a level head, and consistency with those mana rifts is likely to secure at least safe victory for Method Orange if they can't find a kill before Colo is out of mana. The main thing with the mana rifts is that they deny Way of the Crane. It really puts Colo on a clock. He's likely to have to just use Way of the Crane as soon as it's available. Zach using Glaire's Medallion aggressively. Colo looks like he wants to get some crowd control. Sea-Doo's locked down. Mez is the target. He makes a trade, but will that be enough? Sea-Doo gets stunned out of it. It's the triple stun lock combo by Neverlucky as they look to try and battle back to a game number 5. There's still 2 major objectives, Trill's Darkness and Sea-Doo's Spirit Link Totem. As soon as those objectives are out of the way, Mez will be an exposed target, but they need mana to push for those. With how much mana Colo has remaining, he's only really going to get one more Way of the Crane.
That Super Frogs waiting in the grand finals, potentially for Method Orange, if they can close out this game. Neverlucky, they want to keep their tournament lives available, but things are looking a little bit grim. Colo's mana not doing great right now, already around 30%. He only has 1, potentially 2 of those Way of the Cranes left, and that's really the extra little bit of push that we normally need from Neverlucky to actually land a kill onto a very durable class like the Death Knight of Mez. Sea-Doo now caught into a full Intimidating Shout. Colo pulls the trigger as he moves forward, trying to take Mez down. What is Mez going to do? Looks like he's just going to exchange blow for blow. Sea-Doo does have the Spearling Totem if he needs it. Earthen Shield Totem. Mez in execute range. No Death Strike. Darkness gets dropped off by Trill, but a beautiful Ring of Peace knocks him out. And Sea-Doo forced to trade out the Spirit Link. And now Mez, in desperation, really doesn't have anything left.
Colo has to get another Way of the Crane. If he can somehow get enough mana to do it, they'll push Mez over.
Nice Hex.
But I don't think they're going to get enough mana to see that. Maybe Colo just punches without Way of the Crane. That's what he's doing right now, at least. Just adding in the tiniest bit more damage. I mean, it's do or die. You've got to kill Mez here and now. You're totally tapped on mana. There's nothing left. They secure crowd control. They get the Glaire's Medallion. Now they could win with Intimidating Shout. Sea-Doo's going to have to pre-tremor on Zach's Intimidating Shout. Maybe they don't even need it. Mez is still down at half, desperately trying to kite, but the entire team of Neverlucky is just dying. There's no mana. They disarm Mez. Where's the crowd control on Sea-Doo. They have to stop him from crashing in these healing waves. There's no crowd control. Mez is still floundering even without crowd control. Imagine they land an interrupt, put Sea-Doo behind, puts Colo as well as totally tapped, triple stun secured by the entire team of Method Orange. Colo just punching away even without way of the crane. Can they take Mez down? Will Lord Mez fall before Never Lucky in game number 4? It's looking like he's not going to. Zach on the ropes with nothing, leaps, tries to cross the map, gets gripped back to Mez, and Mez KOs him. Method Orange 3-1, Never Lucky advancing to the finals.
Aren't you glad they entire world? And let's take a look at the compositions. This is the comp that has gotten Method Orange so far. Chan the Animal going to be on that Warlock, backed up by Wealthy Man.
Here we go. We saw this similar matchup, Cleave versus the Destruction Mage, but the Death Knight Demon Hunter is a lot less punch and much more about consistency. So I don't think that Channel will be overwhelmed the same way as we saw Swapsy in the European region. I'm curious to see how Cubsy maintains his mana. The last time we saw this from the Super Frogs, they focused on crowd control. So Polymorph Trill. If that Polymorph is dispelled, you then Polymorph him 2 more times and then fear him and really prevent Trill from connecting to Cubsy. This way you will limit the amount of mana rifts and you will also allow Cubsy to regenerate mana and have more opportunities to drink. Although this time Trill is focusing much more so on damage, going after Wealthy Man, getting an Iron Bark exchanged early on. Cubsy is running that Feral Affinity. I think it's definitely wise to get some extra damage for his team because his composition really lacks the ability to push someone over the edge. So bringing Feral Affinity on a Restoration Druid to add some extra damage to your team can be an effective way to then deal that final blow.
Yeah, Wealthy Man, once again, he's playing that build where he has very powerful Frost Bolts with the Lonely Winter, as well as that Tunnel of Ice, Azerite trait, and Flash Freeze Azerite trait. So he's going to be very dangerous if left alone. The problem is, if you go after Wealthy Man, Slowdown has Frostbolt damage, then all of a sudden you have a Chanimals that's just going to be smoking you with Chaos Bolt. So definitely a great option here for Super Frogs. I think that having 2 high-threat caster targets is definitely going to be ideal against Method Orange, especially moving on into the late game.
Yeah, it was effective for them in the past with that crowd control, diminishing return, polymorph, and fear. Very effective at just pinning melee DPS down, and there's no real threat. There's no Windwalker. I think maybe at some point we need to see Trill switch to the Windwalker, and it really just depends on this match right now. If Method Orange can't manage to pull off victory here, I want to see Method Orange go back to that bread and butter we've seen before with Mez and Trill playing together on that Windwalker Death Knight. Mez gets bursted down as Chanimal really is taking this game into his own hands, getting triple fears onto Sea-Doo. No polymorph attempt by Wealthy Man just yet, getting denied on it by Sea-Doo. If any polymorph is able to be landed on him, he actually does manage to get the polymorph. Both Chanimal and Wealthy Man free casting, although again, before dampening, Death Strike going to be very effective at just sustaining Mez. Still, the mana, let's see how the mana looks as Cubsy comes out of form. It's looking solid, and that's the main win condition for Method Orange. If they can't manage to develop that lead, they're going to lose out on their main win condition.
Interesting. Sea-Doo's actually playing Draenei Shaman, I believe, so he's going to have a little bit more healing with that Draenei Racial. It puts a heal over time effect on the target when he needs it, so a little bit more instant cast healing that Sea-Doo's opting to go with on his Restoration Shaman. Mez, is he playing Draenei as well? Or is that a Night Elf? I think it might be a Night Elf.
Kind of hard.
It's hard to see in this position.
I think it's Night Elf.
Look for the tail. Look for the
tail. They are both Night Elf to dodge the incoming Maledict's trinkets. Wealthy Man crowd controlling Trill, bursting down Mez. Lots of damage on Mez. I mean, bursts like that, another maybe 4 minutes into the game, I'm not sure if Mez really makes it out alive. So Super Frogs definitely have the potential. They just need to protect Cubsy until deeper into dampening. So far, Trill is getting some mana rifts now secured onto Cubsy. Tries to wild charge out of it, but that crowd control guarantees it will land. Trill is likely to not miss a single timing on that part. He's easily mastered that strategy of mana rift. Sea-Doo chilling at the pillar, going for a couple healing waves. That's another win condition when facing the Shaman, is that Sea-Doo will have to cast slow, long heals, and when facing a Warlock and a Mage, they have ranged interrupts to deny those long, slow heals. So there could be opportunity there for Super Frogs to find a kill as well.
Yeah, Wealthy Man opting to use his Icy Veins in conjunction with Chanimal's Dark Soul. anti-magic zone trades very effective into both of those offensives, and I would have much rather see SuperFrog split up those offensives. I would think it makes it much more difficult with sort of a two-pronged attack where Mez has to make a hard decision. Does he use the anti-magic zone on Icy Veins, or is it on the Dark Soul? And that way they at least get effectiveness out of one of those offensive cooldowns. So definitely would like to see that from SuperFrogs moving forward in this matchup.
Both of these teams bringing in their most durable long-distance compositions. Deep dampening definitely going to be required against these top caliber teams and the setups that they have brought to the North American Grand Finals today. Now, of course, there's a lot more on the line for Method Orange as they are on the cusp, the bottom end of the qualifying teams for the Spring Finals, whereas the SuperFrogs are already guaranteed a spot. So Sea-Doo definitely looking for a first place performance to feel more comfortable and have a reliable chance at making it to the Spring Finals. Mez gets bursted down. Recovers though with those death strikes. Frozen Orb placed. Wealthy Man trying to dish out some pain. Really, Mez is spending a lot of runic power just on death strike, not able to really get too much pressure. Chanimal gates to safety as there was some momentum starting to develop, and that's the one thing with Chanimal is that his positioning is always on point, knows exactly where to be at exactly every given moment in the game, and it's very important when you're playing a Warlock because you don't move really fast. So if you're standing in the wrong spot, it's going to take you a long time to get to the right spot, which is why we see him shine so much on that Warlock.
Yeah, definitely. Now all three members of Method Orange are going to be hiding behind the pillar, eating the Blizzard, eating the Frozen Orb, but it's just kind of insignificant damage at this point, and Method Orange should be able to easily recover as they rotate to a new pillar. Actually gripping Chanimals in, looking for a little bit of damage on him, but with this positioning, Cubsy is able to go. He sneaks away, gets a drink. He's at completely reset on his mana, back to basically 100%. We are now at 6% dampening, and I really believe that Method Orange, things are going to start getting very scary for them. If they can't get Cubsy out of mana, eventually they're not really going to be able to get too much of a lead in this matchup, especially with Chanimals and Wealthy Man just free casting in the open.
I think if SuperFrogs take game one, we need to see Method Orange go back to their Windwalker Death Knight. They can't rely on this strategy because SuperFrogs have brought a composition that can totally nullify it. Finally, some pressure with crowd control and Cubsy. Chanimal dips down to half, but he's also counter-aggressing despite that pressure in his face, trying to force Mez to run away, and that's sometimes an effective strategy, is just do damage. If the opposing member can't stay in your face and you force them to run away, that's just as good as trading a defensive cooldown. So Chanimal focusing a lot more on counter-aggression and really just going at Mez toe-to-toe. Now with dampening at 11%, it will become increasingly more difficult for either side to maintain themselves into the fight.
Definitely Chanimals in midfield, still trying to get some pressure as Trill feeling confident, moving to get some damage onto Wealthy Man. Cubsy resets his mana once again. Sea-Doo falling a little bit behind. Now if Chanimals and Wealthy Man can get some damage rolling on Trill, he could be a vulnerable target here in midfield, but Mez just grips him over, getting some damage onto Chanimals, really limiting the amount of damage he has available. And that's one of the things about these compositions that Method Orange is bringing. They have a lot of interrupts. Sea-Doo with Grounding Totem and Wind Shear. Mez has Mind Freeze as well as Death Grip to interrupt cast, as well as Pet Stun and a Pet Interrupt. And Trill has an interrupt as well. So just a lot of disruption here on the side of Method Orange. But eventually, with Polymorph and Fear, Frostbolt, and Chaos Bolt, eventually SuperFrogs will get off the casted spells that they need to start making something happen.
All right, Chanimal secures a double Shadow Fury. Wealthy Man follows up with a Polymorph, unfortunately breaking to the Infernals. Huge hit, though. Mez dips low. That's an important objective out of the way. The Icebound Fortitude. Trill now getting caught by Cubsy. He's trying to burst him down. Finally showing that surprise with the Feral Affinity. They get the Gliders Medallion from Trill. Cubsy could certainly be the X factor in the team, and he's been patiently waiting to attack deeper into dampening. Doesn't want to show his hand, but now they know that the Claw is there.
Claw is there. Cubsy's going to be able to re-stealth and get the stuns that he needs. I think he's a lot more ferocious than just a little kitty cat there, Sid. Yes, that's better. Sea-Doo gets interrupted, and like you said, later on in the game, Sea-Doo's instant heals aren't going to be nearly as powerful as he needs. He's going to have to start channeling out those healing waves, chain heals potentially. That makes him very susceptible to Chanimal Spell Lock and Wealthy Man's counter spell. And if they can nail those consistently, Method Orange is going to continually fall behind.
All right, Chanimal, what are you going to do? Deep into dampening, we've seen Destruction Warlocks get demolished. Will he be able to stay alive and counter-aggress against Method Orange in the grand finals of the North American Cup number 4. Is this Method Orange's redemption? Can they finally rise back to glory? The former BlizzCon champions currently pinned down at the pillar, trying to escape away from that frozen orb, but Cubsy's going to jump into the fight. Chaos Bolt and a Feral Affinity. That's going to be pretty scary for Mez as he gets bursted, but he grips Chanimal in, tries to go maybe for a reversal. Very low on health. Sea-Doo connects some big heals, stabilizes Mez for now. I'm really just waiting to see what Cubsy can get done with that Feral Affinity a few more minutes in.
Yep, definitely have to see what he can get done. That additional damage might be able to close out the game, but Cubsy just continually running away, resetting his mana, now sitting very healthy. And I'm not exactly sure what Method Orange is going to do. They're going for these gripped attempts on Chanimals. So Chanimals, every single time, he's holding on to his Mortal Coils. He gets out in the open, then he counter-fears them with that Mortal Coil onto both Mez and Trill. Good pressure here from Method Orange as they charge forward, potentially trying to take Chanimals down, but he still has the Dark Soul available, the Unending Resolve. Method Orange has to be careful because every moment they stay in the open makes them susceptible to this damage and crowd control. Reverse magic from Trill onto Sea-Doo on that Polymorph. Wealthy Man's going to have to sneak in and land those crowd controls onto Sea-Doo, especially the Chanimals is the main person under fire.
So far, the composition that Super Frogs have crafted has countered the Mana Rift strategy as Cubsy is nowhere near running out of mana. Really what it comes down to is if Chanimals can survive deeper in dampening to a big push, which I think he will be able to. There's no mortal wounds effect, no healing reduction on the side of Method Orange. Maybe I'm just wrong. Chanimals finally just getting destroyed right here. Unending Resolve on 10% health and still just getting owned. Trill trinkets to actually just end the game and kill. This is the first time we've really seen him aggressively use that Gladiator's Medallion to stay on target. Method Orange may start to smell blood in the water. Sea-Doo though now in a Polymorph Infernals have landed. This could be devastating for Mez if he's not able to escape. They're not making any significant trades. Anti-Magic Shield and Dampening isn't that powerful. Dark Soul activated. Chanimal is ready to go. He kites out of the Anti-Magic Zone. If Mez follows him, he's going to take a huge Chaos Bolt. Chanimal's trying to fake cast Interrupts. If Chanimal can get this Chaos Bolt off, he's baiting Interrupts with Fear. No one's falling for the bait. He keeps going for Fears. He wants someone to interrupt Fear so he can Chaos Bolt, but no one's falling for it. Sea-Doo gets reversed out of the poly. Mez still dips low. Icebound Fortitude exchanges. It may be enough for him to stabilize. Mana suddenly not looking good for either side.
Yeah, Chanimal's getting lower as well. Things are looking great for Method Orange. Spirit Link Totem gets traded out. Darkness, the last line of defense for Trill. Method Orange, this is their final stand. They have to take Chanimals down. If they retreat at this point in the game, there is nothing left. But Mez running away. Chaos Bolt connects. Ray of Frost being channeled out by Wealthy Man. What are you going to do, Mez? As Chanimal gets gripped behind the pillar, he makes his way to his gateway. Gates out into the open. Sea-Doo now caught into a Polymorph, into another one. Cubsy has to play catch-up. He does have his Innervate up. Iron Bark almost available. He's going to have to be trading that out. Imprisonment by Trill. Good crowd control here from Method Orange. Chanimal still low. This is critical for both teams. Mez trying to find some more damage, but Method Orange, if they stay in the open for too long, Wealthy Man's going to be able to really punish them.
Trill's going to have to decide when to use Darkness to just push them over. He's not going to be able to reliably use that for defense. It needs to be offense, but if he makes the wrong timing on it and doesn't get the kill, then they lose out on that immunity and probably die. So very risky decision deep into dampening for Method Orange, but at some point they're going to have to make that decision. Otherwise, Chanimal might be able to close the game out. Triple Shadow Fury sets Wealthy Man up. Trill reverses it, fortunately for Sea-Doo to get out of crowd control. Sea-Doo's totally tapped on mana. Cubsy is sat and drank to full. Super Frogs have the advantage in that regard, but I think it's pressure and momentum that Method Orange could have on their side. No Infernals for 58, no Icy Veins for 54. I wouldn't even be surprised to see the Super Frogs try and just abandon the push and wait for those offensive cooldowns to have some sort of counter aggression. Another ward to deny the incoming Gladiator's Maledict. Mez finally being pressured. Sea-Doo doesn't have any more mana left, and maybe the Super Frogs can do it.
I mean, it's been looking like it's going their way the entire game. Definitely wouldn't count them out yet. Mez low, he has the Anti-Magic Shell in 2 seconds. Anti-Magic Zone, is he going to trade it out? Very greedy plays there by Mez. Wealthy Man almost 25 seconds left on that Icy Vein. That's a deadly cooldown. He will be able to take Method Orange down with. Now Sea-Doo caught into the Polymorph. All 3 members just teeing off on Mez, who's stuck. He's trying to counter pressure Chanimals, but There's no healing left for Mez. Darkness gets dropped out. Sea-Doo completely tapped on mana. They shred through that anti-magic shell, and Mez having to retreat. This is looking horrible for Method Orange.
This is looking abysmal at this point with Icy Veins now available. Infernal's now available. No mana left for Sea-Doo. Pinned at the pillar with the Vortex. Chanimal sets up for the kill. Huge potential damage. This next Chaos Bolt is going to be the end of the game if Chanimal can get it. He might not even need it. Mind Freeze denies it. How many more interrupts do they have? They don't even need it. Wealthy Man's going to close it out. Super Frogs craft the composition to deny the Stalps.
In my opinion, that should be Trill and Windwalker. They can sit back and they can do what we basically saw over in Europe when we saw the Cleave kind of wait out a little bit in Wildcard Gaming and then do those big pushes onto the Warlock, force out the Unending Resolve, and eventually take him down.
Very important to be thinking about, though, here, folks. It's only game 2 of our best of 7 in the grand finals of Cup number 4 for North America. If we see Sam I Am on this Moonkin be the X factor that can net Method Orange a win, all of a sudden, their prospects for this series look a lot better. If we see the Moonkin get defeathered, it may be a scary series for Method Orange.
Yeah, Method Orange might just get completely destroyed here by the Super Frogs.
Completely plucked.
Completely plucked indeed. Sea-Doo polymorphed, Samurai Immortal coiled away. Wealthy Man setting up burst off the back of it. Getting Solar Beam now in the follow-up crowd control. Samurai Solar Beams are going to be more about disruption when facing a Restoration Druid team, much less about stopping healing. So he will either be using them on polymorphs or fears, Chaos Bolts, or Ebon Bolts, likely. In that position, he used it on a polymorph while Sea-Doo was still in one to deny the follow-up and break the chain. So good usage of Solar Beam in that point of as an example. Sea-Doo is still crowd controlled. Sam I Am's ducking in bear form, and that is the one advantage that the Balanced Druid brings to the meta, as he reduces magic damage on himself significantly when in bear form. So Sam I Am will have that edge. The map sets themselves up well, but Cubsy has so far been able to avoid a lot of mana rifts just by running away from Trill throughout, and I'm very curious to see as this plays out how well they can keep Trill off of Cubsy.
Well, it's just all about Wealthy Man and Chanimals rotating their polymorphs in Fear. When Wealthy Man gets a polymorph on Trill, Chanimals lands a Fear onto Sea-Doo, and that way he can't dispel them. And they just rotate through those. In reverse, when Chanimals fears Trill, that's when Wealthy Man goes for polymorphs on Sea-Doo. It becomes difficult for Method Orange to really shut down all of that, although I must say, so far Cubsy's mana is falling a little bit behind. This is looking a lot better for Method Orange. Sea-Doo has a massive mana lead, but Sam I Am has to be careful. He's going to be able to tank out a lot of this damage in bear form if he really needs to. Wealthy Man and Chanimals once again just teeing off. Sea-Doo into a polymorph as they look to push in and potentially take Sam I Am down, but I think it's unlikely at this point. With the pillar, line of sighting, that safety net will ultimately keep Method Orange alive.
The thing is, Sam I Am does not have Death Strike, so Sea-Doo will have to cast a lot more heals, which is very scary when facing Chanimal and Wealthy Man with Spell Lock and Counterspell available. Trill getting a triple stun, definitely a mistake on part of the Super Frogs to stack up for that. However, Method Orange are developing a mana lead, which they weren't able to do in game number 1, and if that is their main point of strategy, it will work on these small maps, but let's say the Super Frogs lose this. We're going to Tolvaron. I don't think the same is true on Tolvaron. We've seen that matchup play out in the past between these two teams, and at that point, Method Orange are going to, I think, need a different strategy than just Mana Rift.
Potentially. I mean, it's got them this far, right? Now, Cubsy down around 30% mana already. Method Orange is looking really good. Trill has had such high uptime on Cubsy. I think all three members have been doing a great job pushing in. Sam I Am really has to get counter pressured here. Potentially even like to see a swap onto Sea-Doo. If they can manage to land a bash on Sea-Doo when he's midfield into a coil, maybe they could take him down. But Sam I Am forced so defensive in this matchup. Unfortunately, Trill also getting feared up. Maybe Cubsy sitting down for a drink. If he can recover all that mana, this huge lead Method Orange had is going to be completely lost. But unfortunately for Cubsy, Sam I Am finds him, gets him out of stealth, and they secure their mana lead.
Good moves by Sam I Am. That is the only thing really going in favor of Method Orange is that mana lead, and they need to make sure they keep it. Sam I Am out in midfield. Could be a bit dangerous. He's popping Incarnation. He's trying to go for a kill, and Cubsy's going to be the kill target as they go for an all-in first attempt. Multiple Gladiators Maledicts connect. Cubsy manages to escape, but for how much longer? Sea-Doo's purging him. He's desperately trying to take him down. Ursul's Vortex pulls Sea-Doo downstairs out of line of sight. Now trying to get back up. Cubsy ducks around the corner, but his mana, just look at it. It's not there anymore, Ven.
Yeah, it's disappeared from the arena. Hopefully he can cover, or hopefully for Super Frogs, he can recover some of it, but Trill in hot pursuit. Like we said, Demon Hunters right now, they're mostly hunting mana bars, not demons. And that seems to be the case in this matchup as Cubsy's getting lower and lower. Sea-Doo actually, like you kind of mentioned, even throwing in some offensive purges during those moments of burst for their team, and I actually really like that. He has such a massive mana lead that he can really force Cubsy to fall behind.
I just think on this map, maybe the Super Frog should play more aggressive rather than trying to avoid the fight. Just try and kill Sam. I'm not sure what else they can really do. I think Cubsy is just running laps on the outskirts of the map while Trill and Sam chase him down to just mash out as many mana rifts as possible, and then Dampening will overwhelm Cubsy where he can't heal anymore. To be fair, they need that situation to be able to do enough damage to really get through Super Frogs. So Method Orange are just playing for a safe win condition later into the match, and it's really up to Cubsy to find some way to sneak off and regenerate mana if he wants to keep his team in a good position. But winning that blind pick, winning in the Grand Arena fight was important for the rest of the series, so they'll have that swing match advantage, and they can always bring it to an open quarters, large map if they need to, should Method Orange continue this composition.
Yeah, Cubsy with the last little bit of his mana. What is he going to do? Looking for a re-stealth here. Can Trill find him? There's a polymorph. Sam getting bursted down. It's danger time for Method Orange. Sea-Doo caught into a full fear. No Tremor Totem, but unfortunately it breaks. Now Chanimal's looking for a Chaos Bolt on Sam. As he ducks out of line of sight, will be able to survive for now, and that's one of the main advantages of this map as well. If Sam can use these little pillars to escape in bear form with Sea-Doo, it's unlikely he goes down, but in midfield like this, he's very exposed to Wealthy Man and Chanimal's damage, so definitely going to have to be careful.
Sam just walking back into line of sight, and his Dire Safeguard is going to get procced. Definitely needs to work on avoiding being attacked. Manages to re-stealth, sneaking across to stop Cubsy from drinking. Mana, though, in Dampening is surprisingly equaling out. The counter pressure from Chanimal has been very effective at creating windows of opportunity to potentially kill Sam and I do expect him to be the main target at least for another 10 or 15% Dampening. Perhaps they go after Trill at that point when his self-sustainability is reduced. Wealthy Man gets denied on crowd control by Sam Chanimal is cycloned up. Sam still just chasing Cubsy. Do we have a lap counter at this point?
Yep, 42.
42?
I had 71, but
who's right?
Not me, probably, because I'm just guessing. But we'll have to see.
It's pretty much doubled what I did.
Well, Sam still under fire here. Cubsy has managed to hold on to his mana. At one point in the game, he did manage to sneak away for a little bit of a drink, recovering some of that mana he's lost once again in stealth. If Chanimals can land a fear, unfortunately not able to find it in time on Sam. That would have been huge for Cubsy. Now Sea-Doo caught into a polymorph. Sam all alone. Yikes. Wealthy Man looking to close it out. Reverse magic coming into the nick of time from Trill, allowing Sea-Doo to get off the Spirit Link totem. What a scary moment for Method Orange. Super Frog still battling it out valiantly.
Thing is, on the small maps, Cubsy will lose on mana, but I think they can just win on damage by just crushing Sam. So even though Cubsy is completely tapped, I think Super Frogs still have an opportunity at victory. With Infernals 50 seconds away, Icy Veins a minute and 20. That's going to be a big hit combo to take out Sam if he's not careful. Cubsy using that wild charge to get advantage of the Z-axis. Of course, Trill as a Demon Hunter doesn't really care. He just presses spacebar twice and he's back up to the second level immediately. Wealthy Man catches Sam in a stun. Out of form. He really needs to be in bear form for those big hits like that flurry.
Oh, no.
Sam is throwing.
He's in a lot of trouble with the bash on the Sea-Doo. Sam so low in this situation. Earthen Shield Totem gets dropped by Sea-Doo. Will Sam be able to hold on? Fear from Chanimals. Full polymorph secured by Wealthy Man. Sam still out of line of sight. Gladiator Safeguard and Barkskin keeps him alive, but what a scary moment, and it is close.
Oh, the Nether Ward.
After close call, beautiful Nether Ward from Chanimals. He is not letting Sam out of this.
Oh, that was so lucky for Sam to get feared into the box so Chanimal couldn't finish the Chaos Bolt. That might have actually killed him if Chanimal was able to get that. He's still looking for... Sam is just tanking all these hits out of bear form. He has no reason not to be in bear form on Balance Druid in this position. He's just taking huge hits for no reason. Sea-Doo has to trade the Ascendance, the Healing Tide Totem to try and recover. I think Cubsy, amidst all this chaos, has managed to drink. We're about to find out. Sam is still not topped off. This is looking abysmal. They set up for the kill off the back of the Shadow Fury, and Sam gets totaled.
Oh, man, we are just going to see him absolutely defend.
Druid or his Mistweaver more. It seems like Shaman is really his most confident, so they're going to rely on comfort, but sometimes you need to embrace discomfort to overcome adversity.
I mean, yeah, true words have really never been spoken, Sid. So.
Super Frogs going to be leading in this series 2-0. It is not match point, though. We are in the grand final for North America. This one is going to be a best of 7. So if Super Frogs take this, they are on match point and getting very close to send Method Orange that second place condolence prize.
So I'm wondering if Method Orange are going to take the same strategy as Wildcard Gaming and play at the pillar, wait for dampening, and then overwhelm the Destruction Warlock. It seems like that is what they are trying to do, but as Zico already pointed out in the pregame, is that these pillars are quite small, which means they'll have to reposition to other points of line of sight, and while they reposition, they're out in the open and they take huge hits. Wealthy Man is closing in, and I don't think playing at the wall is going to be the best spot. They're all stacked up.
Yeah, they're all stacked up, eating that blizzard, and this is the kind of triangle formation we talked about. Chanimal's in position to throw out some damage. Wealthy Man in position to throw out some damage, and if Method Orange just sits here passively, eventually Super Frogs will be able to find a kill opportunity potentially. Sea-Doo now into a polymorph. Wealthy Man finds another one. Trill out of line of sight, just healing himself up. One Maledicт connects on him. Could he be in some trouble? Don't think so. Mez is going to shut down some of that damage, some of that kill attempt on Chanimals by gripping him in. Gets the asphyxiate. Trill ports over, looking for some pressure as well. Cubsy looking to deny, using his Innervate so he can cast out all of those really expensive heals like the Efflorescence in order to keep Chanimals alive.
Yeah, let's see if he can do it. So far, without that Mana Rift, Method Orange are going to have to rely on crowd control, coordination, and burst to take down the Super Frogs. Right now, we haven't seen any real aggressive pushes on their side. They've been mostly just focused on trying to line of sight and avoid the combat. Now getting caught in midfield. Huge burst. Ursul's Vortex pulls Trill back into line of sight. Wealthy Man blinks in to try and KO. Touch of Karma will allow Trill to survive, but a close call early on.
I actually feel like this map is kind of backfiring. These pillars aren't nearly enough for Method Orange to implement the strategy they really want, which is run, hide, wait till dampening. And with these small pillars, there's always someone in line of sight for Chanimals or Wealthy Man to try to exploit. So far, Wealthy Man is doing a great job making sure he's not overstaying his welcome. He gets out the damage that he needs. Trill and Mez now going to be moving in, but with Sea-Doo locked out, Trill and Mez could potentially be vulnerable. Chanimals realizes this. He drops out the Infernals looking for some damage, and Method Orange forced to retreat.
All right, Method Orange once again pinned at the pillar. Chanimal connects a bolt. I would like to see Wealthy Man and Chanimal split up. They're both in the same position currently, and both moving in the same direction, which means that Method Orange can all just shift at the same time in the opposite and avoid them entirely. It's a little bit of a mistake on positioning here from Chanimal and Wealthy Man. Although with the pillar so small, that Frozen Orb is basically covering the entire side of it. Wealthy Man gets gripped into the fight. Chanimal supports with a double stun, denying the reconnect as Wealthy Man blinks back in the center field into safety. We do see the Dark Simulacrum selected for Mez. He can steal crowd control, something like a Polymorph or a Fear, and then use that on the enemy healer Cubsy to extend crowd control and burst somebody down. I'm very curious to see what he is able to get done with that Honor talent moving forward.
Yeah, we'll have to definitely see what happens. Cubsy in a great position to just once again go down, sit for a drink. Method Orange, I don't think they care at this point. I think what they really want to do in this matchup is find a window of opportunity where they can really overwhelm Chanimals by using a lot of those offensive cooldowns, potentially pull out the Unending Resolve. And if they can do that, it's definitely a big lead. They get Iron Bark. They get the Unending Resolve as well from Chanimals. Now Mez and Trill, they're pushing forward. Mez managed to use the Dark Simulacrum. Didn't steal anything just yet. Polymorph on a Sea-Doo. I think Mez might have actually taken a Polymorph, so Cubsy needs to be a little bit careful of that. He does manage to get that. That's going to be extra crowd control for Method Orange that they need to take down Chanimals.
Yeah, Super Frogs 2-0 up in the lead of this grand final, setting themselves up quite well to just secure victory overall when facing down Method Orange. Cubsy pinned down behind the pillar with that Ring of Peace, well positioned by Trill, but Mez is the one still under fire. With Wealthy Man and Chanimal on these double spellcasters, if you leave one of them open, they will create momentum and swing the game in their favor. Chanimal repositioning to the right side. Wealthy Man free casting. Chanimal trying to fake cast some interrupts. Baits one with the Shadow Fury. Finds a Chaos Bolt on Trill. Sea-Doo in a Polymorph. Big mistakes here by Method Orange, getting caught in crowd control and tons of damage. They can't afford these slip-ups.
Yeah, Trill low. He's already used the Diffuse Magic. He has Touch of Karma. Danger time. Sea-Doo manages to connect some heals as Trill and Sea-Doo line of sighting. Mez trying to push in aggressive in the matchup, trying to keep some pressure for his team, but forced to retreat over to Mr. Outstanding.
I'm sorry. That guy is too hilarious in this arena. Mez gets bursted down to half. Sea-Doo recovers. Actually caught in, they can't afford to get caught in these polymorphs. The one downside of this small map as well is that Weltyman can start a polymorph, blink fully into line of sight, and can secure crowd control. Now even attacking Sea-Doo, but Sea-Doo effectively utilizing that pack spirit, recovering in Ghost Wolf effectively for free. No mana advantage establishing itself on either side. Chanimal, however, his defense is limited. No one ending resolve for another minute, potentially. It's
so
like that.
Yeah, we need Weltyman's positioning. Get away from that guy as soon as possible. There's a stun onto Chanimal. Incapacitate over onto Cubsy. Caught into a stun as well. He does have his Trinket and Iron Bark available if he needs it. Chanimal's going to be feeling quite healthy. But like we've kind of seen in these matchups before, it's all about the Windwalker Monk and the Death Knight extending it long enough where their cooldowns are desynced with some of the defensives that Chanimals really has available. And that's what we're about to see. Trill with his Touch of Death coming up in 2 seconds. That's a great opportunity for them to get some damage rolling on Chanimals and potentially find a kill in this matchup.
Yeah, let's see if they can get it done. They got another 30 seconds on that clock to try and take down Chanimal, but they're going after Sea-Doo. They got him out in midfield. Mez saves the day with that anti-magic zone, but it only trades for the Infernals. There's still 2 big threats, Dark Soul and Icy Veins, which could be popped at any moment. Mez is still exposed. Multiple interrupts already used. Chanimal connects a Chaos Bolt. Weltyman secures a Polymorph. Great initiation, but Mez steals it and secures a Polymorph of his own. 6 seconds away from that unending resolve. Cubsy needs to pray that Iron Bark will be enough, and it does appear to be the case. In the meantime, Sea-Doo is just eating crowd control like candy. Mez is going to go down as a result, and Super Frogs advance to match point.
Candy ain't good for you. Mez going to be torn out. Looks like the Super Frogs may be able to just close this one out. Method Orange, their last hope, going to be Trill on that Monk. Will they be able to find some semblance of pressure? Will they be able to find a win? Or are they going to find themselves stuck in second place?
We are about to find out as they are on match point. Super Frogs look to secure victory and establish dominance in the North American region. They will be passing the boys in points. They've secured their spot at the spring finals already, even without this victory, but of course accumulating as many points as possible to potentially qualify off of them to the world finals is of utmost importance, and Super Frogs look likely to take it unless Method Orange can reverse sweep. Method Orange have to win 4 matches in a row. 3 of them they will be at a map pick and a comp pick disadvantage. That is a tall order to take.
Yeah, definitely. And looking at Trill's talent choices, he is going with the Tiger Eye Brew. So he's going to be able to build that up, and every time he activates it, gives him a few seconds of where his damage turns into magic damage, and he can really shred through a lot of the armor that Chanimals has available to him, a lot of that defense. So that gives me the clue, or sort of suggests to me, that Chanimals will be the main target in this matchup. I think Method Orange is really going to have to pick their moment to push in. Trill right now with no Transcendence and no Touch of Karma, going to be feeling very vulnerable. And I don't really see Chanimals going down in this matchup until much later on in Dampening.
Yeah, most certainly Dampening going to be required. It's a matter of if Method Orange can actually make it to that point. They're already getting bursted down through multiple defensive options early on. Finding some momentum here on Chanimal. Personally down to half, immediately healed back to full health. Must have been a huge swift mend by Chanimal. Dark Soul, Icy Veins available, and I'm really trying to pay attention to how the Super Frogs place their offensive cooldowns, because they're really the only team we see playing this composition, and only one's actually able to make it work, and I think it is offensive cooldown management. They lead with Infernals, they try and bait some cooldowns, then they split it up. Ooh, a stolen Polymorph by Mez could turn this game on its head. Well done. Managing to keep his team in the fight, forcing that Gladiator's Medallion and Iron Bark. A mistake like that later in the game definitely will cost the Super Frogs.
Yeah, Trill portals away behind the pillar, uses his Transcendence, but he's left Mez in the midfield, who instantly recovers his health with the Death Strike. Good burst damage from Weltyman, but unfortunately Mez, with his self-healing, will be able to recover quite quickly. Now Trill moving in with the Touch of Death. Full Polymorph stolen once again. Chanimals could actually go down off the back of that stolen Polymorph from Mez. Nice Ring of Peace onto Chanimals, keeping him far away from his healer. Asphyxiate stun now onto Cubsy as Mez continues the crowd control chain, but just not enough damage there. Chanimals manages to survive, but they did pull out that unending resolve, that major defensive cooldown Chanimals has available.
Yeah, these Dark Simulacrums on Mez are carrying the team. Mez really putting his team on his shoulders here on their on-match point. Can Mez do it? Can he keep his team alive in the tournament? They have to win 4 games in a row against the Super Frogs. It'll be on Super Frogs territory as well for the rest of the series, even if they should go down here and now. It is getting a bit scary. Mez activating the Dark Simulacrum. Let's see if he managed to steal anything. I don't think he did, or he would have already have exchanged it since they are so far ahead in terms of pressure. Cubsy repositioning to the opposite side of the map. Sidu looking like he wanted to cross and maybe deny him from drinking. Not able to do so. Mana not looking that good for Sidu. Things overall, cooldown-wise, are in favor of Method Orange, but the mana lead is establishing itself.
Yeah, definitely Trill still in the fight, pushing forward onto Chanimal, not opting to run away or commit any defensive cooldowns just yet. Cubsy still ahead on mana, like you kind of mentioned. Full polymorph now onto Sidu. Trill could be in some trouble, or at least have to use some defensives. Chanimals does get interrupted. Another polymorph secured by Wealthy Man as he's looking to just free up Chanimals. He's trying to find some counter pressure to force Trill and Mez to back off just a little bit, but so far it hasn't been enough. So he pulls the trigger with the Icy Veins, looking to get hyper-aggressive here onto Method Orange. Is he going to be able to do it?
I'm not sure. Chanimal's doing his best to just close this series out. If he can connect some Chaos Bolts during this Infernal timing, it would be devastating. All 3 members getting cleaved apart. Sidu getting destroyed. Spearling Totem exchanged to recover. You cannot disrespect the Super Frogs' damage, most certainly, and Chanimals is really just leading the charge, trying to close this game out here and now. Multiple Maledicts flying in, Sidu ducking around the corner, recovering, but now they can switch their attention to Mez and Trill. I do not think they can afford to stack up a Frozen Orb in the near future, otherwise it's likely to be the end of the tournament for them.
Yeah, Cubsy did sit down, managed to get a whole bunch of mana back. He also has the Iron Bark and Thorns in order to keep Chanimals alive, but Trill, with every single defensive and offensive cooldown available, Method Orange, they still have it in them to push through. If they can get the Iron Bark, Chanimals with no unending resolve for another 35 seconds is still very vulnerable, caught in midfield. Wealthy Man still trying to build some pressure. Cubsy gets gripped into it and Asphyxiate as Chanimals ports away. He wants to make sure he is away from Cubsy. Trill getting caught into the Mortal Coil. A lot of damage on him. Forced to use the Touch of Karma. Polymorph on Sidu. Method Orange now very vulnerable, but this all-in attempt on Chanimals could cost them the game. There's the Iron Bar committed by Cubsy. He needs to play catch-up at this point, using the Nether Ward to redirect those Gladiators' Maledicts. Very nicely done. Mez manages to find one, but Cubsy with a Dispel and heals easily deflects.
Ooh, Mez stole a Fear, putting that on Cubsy, trying to get an unending resolve, but it's Trill on the back foot as a polymorph is secured. Ray of Frost could just close the game out. Trill max ranges, ducks around the corner. Mez now left behind. Chanimal trying to stun him. He actually stuns up Sidu. Are they going to follow it up? No, instead attacking Sidu, just hitting whoever's out in the open, looking for a Chaos Bolt. That's at least going to cost Sidu potentially some mana. Big hit. Mez and Trill, they jump back into the fight while Sidu is still recovering. That can't be the right maneuver. Mez instead just tanking some hits with that Death Strike recovers. Good pre-tremor on that Fear by Sidu, breaking the crowd control. Chanimal is still just trying to go for an attack. Nether Ward to immune and interrupt. Gets a Fear, but not onto Sidu. Frozen Orb down. Ring of Peace knocks Chanimal maybe out of line of sight, able to sneak back in before the stun was secured. Nourish from Cubsy should be more than enough to stabilize. They've got a huge mana lead with Dampening just moving in. They've had way more burst opportunities and way more kill windows than Method Orange. This game is much so in favor of Super Frogs, and that's not looking good when you're on match point.
Trill activates the Diffuse Magic to remove one of the Gladiators' Maledicts. Another one comes flying in. Sidu dispels it. Sidu's mana not doing great. Mez caught in midfield. Has to get to line of sight as soon as possible, but all 3 members of Super Frogs chucking in damage as much as they can. Trill with Touch of Karma might be feeling a little bit safe, but this is not the best position for Method Orange to be in. Chanimals has recovered, unending resolve. He's looking good. If Method Orange has to fully retreat, that's not the spot you want to be. Sidu's unlikely to be able to ever drink in this matchup, whereas Cubsy, if he has to sneak away and get a reset, he's going to be feeling completely fine. Trill getting low. A lot of burst damage coming in off the back of those Infernals from Chanimal. They want to close out this game. Mortal Coil on Mez. He deflects with the anti-magic shell. Sidu trying to recover with his Ascendance as all 3 members of Method Orange run and hide.
They managed to recover with Ascendance, but for how much longer? They have to retreat along the outskirts of this balcony. Earthen Wall Totem now placed down. That's going to keep Sea-Doo's team nice and cozy, but they stack up for a double stun. Well-timed leg sweep by Trill. Maybe an opportunity to get back in the fight. Grounding Totem on the Chaos Bolt. Good denial by Sea-Doo, but his mana is looking terrible. Cubsy's back to full. The late game fully in favor of the Super Frogs at this point. They've had way more burst opportunities. Everything is swinging in their fortune. Double Shadow Fury, Fear to set up. Multiman tries to sneak a poly. Sea-Doo shuts him down. Sea-Doo definitely on point in this game in terms of denial. He's going to have to make 0 mistakes if he wants to have a chance at staying in this tournament.
Yeah, definitely Mez in a little bit of trouble as well. Chanimal's looking for a Chaos Bolt. Unable to find it just yet. Spear Hand Strike coming in from Trill, immediately interrupting that spell. Now, once again, Cubsy, he can sit down for a drink. It's unlikely Sea-Doo will ever be able to do that. Super Frogs looking very healthy with the amount of defensive cooldowns that they have. Infernal's coming off cooldown shortly. Wealthy Man with the Icy Veins as well, almost up. Wealthy Man moves in, trying to find some damage. Chanimals gets gripped in by Mez and Trill. Can they force out anything here? They don't really have too many offensive cooldowns to really force Chanimals defensive. He's just going to be moving in, looking for fears, looking for damage. Wealthy Man backing him up, finds the full polymorph on Sea-Doo. Trill could be in a lot of trouble as Super Frog's looking to close out this game.
Mez denies the follow-up. Good disruption on the side of Method Orange, but their mana is still not looking too good. Dampening is ramping up. They need to get some work done. Cubsy gets gripped in. He pre-bear forms it. He's not going to be a target to swap to. They're going to have to go after Chanimal, but even still not denting his health whatsoever. Dampening is just going to get higher and higher. Sea-Doo's mana, I don't think is ever going to... Maybe he can sit down and go for a drink. He's been standing in one spot for some time.
Oh, he's getting it.
He's getting it.
Yeah, a lot of mana recovered by Sea-Doo, but maybe at the expense of Mez's life. Mez comes back in the nick of time in order for Sea-Doo to actually get some heals on him. Cubsy sitting down for a drink, realizing they're behind on mana. He needs to be able to recover a little bit. Method Orange, great strategy, gripping in Chanimals. Ring of Peace denies his exit route as well. Chanimals kind of stuck in this position. A lot of burst damage available for Method Orange as well. What is Chanimals going to do? Cubsy deflecting some of that with the Thorns, forcing Method Orange to back off just a little bit. At 28% damage, you have to try to avoid as much damage as possible.
Yeah, you most certainly do. Dealing damage is way more important in dampening, and avoiding damage is way more important. You can't just soak the hits at this critical mass. Sea-Doo gets the drink. His denial has been good here in game number 4 at breaking up crowd control and burst, but now they need to try and coordinate together aggressively to create some pressure. The Dark Simulacrums earlier on by Mez were game breaking, but at this point they're basically meaningless. He needs to try and get some snipes on crowd control if he wants to carry the team. Trading that anti-magic shield, soaking a huge hit from Chanimal, but look at those cooldowns. Infernals, Icy Veins, Dark Soul, those are big hitting spells for the Super Frogs, and they're all ready and available at any moment. Super Frogs can engage. Infernals have landed. Huge flurry comboed right at the same time. A grounding totem from Sea-Doo denies it, but the Maledicts are flying in. Mez is in trouble. He's trying to hide, but the Spearlink totem whiffs. Huge mistake on the side of Method Orange. Perhaps they recover, but it's going to be so difficult at this point.
Yeah, no Spirit Link Totem to fall back on. No anti-magic zone either. Super Frogs looking really good in this position. Method Orange trying to recover at all costs. That was the Icy Veins of Wealthy Man. They managed to weather that storm, but still, this free casted damage from Super Frogs is just so strong, and the crowd control they're putting out is just excellent. Sea-Doo's been having a really difficult time finding the dispels he really needs. Trill gets dispelled out of a polymorph. Now he's into a full fear. Guess what? Sea-Doo only has one dispel, and that control really limits Method Orange damage potential.
I mean, now with no Spearlink Totem, no anti-magic zone, it's do or die. Chanimal respecting Trill's pressure here, trading unending resolve for the Touch of Death. And I'm wondering if that means Chanimal wants to get aggressive and in the face and just kill Method Orange here and now. They've got a lot of points on the board that they can even just afford to throw away. I wouldn't put it past them to get aggressive. If they were watching the European region, they would have seen the Windwalker Death Knight run the Destruction Warlock over in deep dampening. So I do think that Chanimal needs to look to end the game if they can't secure a mana advantage. But now Chanimal is falling behind. Cubsy is really struggling at 41% dampening, but Trill is giving up. He's going to retreat away. That'll last. No, they're going to grip Chanimal out of line of sight. Cubsy repositions. Wealthy Man drops a triple frozen orb. There's no Earthen Wall Totem for 5 more seconds. How is Sea-Doo going to deal with the pressure? Mez is just going to try and Dark Simulacrum some crowd control. What did he end up getting? I don't think anything. Sea-Doo's totally tapped. He's rotted down. How's he going to recover? Chanimal being pressured. It's anyone's match at this point.
Definitely. Sea-Doo now almost completely tapped on mana. Wonder if he even threw in some purges at that point. At 43% dampening, Mez is going to be feeling very scared. Anti-Magic Shell denies that kill, denies that Chaos Bolt, but Wealthy Man pushes in. He gets the full Polymorph secured on Sea-Doo. Chanimal's looking for a Shadow Fury. Do they have the damage? Mez trinkets out. He's trying to run and hide, but Sea-Doo in a fear. There's no backup for Mez. Drill trying to find some counter pressure, but Wealthy Man controls him up. Cubsy in a great position to keep his team alive. And seriously, Method Orange, they are falling behind.
Super Frogs are looking to 4-0. Method Orange's Mez is just getting destroyed by the damage. Anti-Magic Zone, but a full Polymorph sneaks its way through. Mez at 50% dampening, can't rely on Death Strike. If Wealthy Man keeps the chain going, they can't. They get denied. Sea-Doo's free. He's trying to connect a couple Riptides, but there's multiple interrupts that he needs to deal with. He's trying to fake cast the Fell Hunter. Can Sea-Doo fake cast through the interrupts at 50% dampening? I'm not so certain. Chanimal trying to reposition. They've got the triangle. Wealthy Man blinks in to close the game. Huge damage from Wealthy Man. Even if Chanimal doesn't get pressure outs, Wealthy Man might solo him. Dark Simulacrum. Did he steal the Polymorph? Is now the question. Can Mez somehow carry the team off the back of that? Maybe they can. Huge damage. Mez swings it back and manages to take down Chanimal. Method Orange stay in the tournament.
Method Orange stay in the tournament. Chanimal, welcome to Trailville. We thought that it was open starts. We were already saying they were one of the top teams in North America. We were just waiting for that jump. Snuts on this roster has made them one of the nuttiest teams that we have ever seen, and now they're looking for another win in a grand final. Tolvaron could be the place that they do it.
Yeah, Super Frogs in the past, they were kind of a one-trick pony, really relying on the Shaman, Warlock, either Windwalker or the Assassination Rogue, and they were still taking down top-tier teams consistently, even when it seemed like they were compositionally disadvantaged. Now with Snuts, like you said, they just have so many different options. Seems like they always have an answer with the different compositions they have available, and they're still playing those comps at that very high-tier level.
You have to imagine how much endurance it takes to play out this grand final. Method Orange need to win 3 games in a row. Any mistake will be punished. Mez gets stunned up in midfield, dispelled, mind controlled. Ring of Peace breaks up that mind control. Good reaction by Trill. It does appear to be the case that Method Orange are staying at the pillar, avoiding the damage, maybe looking for a Death Grip stun combo, but Snuts and Wealthy Man, look at their positioning. Snuts on the right, Wealthy Man on the left, at least one of them can cast. They need to reposition. Snuts gripped into a stun. Crowd control on Cubsy. Good initiation by Method Orange. What can they bank off the back of it? Not even a dispersion. Unfortunate for Method Orange.
Yeah, unfortunate for Method Orange, but those Restoration Druid heal over time effects are going to be very powerful. Sea-Doo caught in midfield with Relentless. A swap like this later on could be devastating for Sea-Doo, especially with all those Maledict trinkets. If Super Frogs is able to hold on to all 3 of those and use them on Sea-Doo with the Psychic Horror into a Silence, that could definitely be devastating for Method Orange.
Yeah, most certainly. I mean, he's still far behind, at least with Ascendance and Pack Spirit in Ghost Wolf. Sea-Doo can avoid being interrupted or silenced, stabilize the team with spending no mana, so good usage of cooldowns there on Sea-Doo's part to recover basically for free. Vampiric Embrace, well timed with Void form. This allows Snuts to easily heal up his team with Void Bolt, an ability you only have access in Void form. Maledict, Trill ports away from it. Sea-Doo dispels, but again, this is also a benefit of the Shadow Priest over the Warlock is Vampiric Touch, which is applied to the target, and if it's dispelled, then the person who dispels it is horrified for 3 seconds. You want to dispel the Gladiator's Maledict Healing Absorb, but then you'll eat 3 seconds of crowd control, which could snowball the game further if you're horrified out in the midfield for the Mage to Polymorph.
Yeah, no question about it. And I just think Shadow Priest Frost Mage, it has a lot of synergy, the way the damage works. Wealthy Man is going to provide a lot of snares and burst damage on that Frost Mage. Snuts a lot of consistent pressure on that Shadow Priest. They have a lot of instant crowd control as well. Snuts can set up a Polymorph for Wealthy Man with that Psychic Horror stun, opting to use it now on Trill. With a Silence on Sea-Doo, it means he can't dispel Trill. But Trill should be able to survive. He's in midfield. Method Orange looking to make a push on Snuts, but Snuts able to fade across the map, gets gripped back in by Mez. Now Snuts could actually be semi-vulnerable in this situation. Could actually be forced into the dispersion as well. Cubsy really doesn't have the Iron Bark he needs to catch back up, but still manages to do so at the expense of a lot of mana. Now going into cat form, potentially looking for a drink. and he will be resetting his mana.
Drinking will be very easy for Cubsy on this map because Method Orange don't have Mana Rift, and they don't really have a good way of crossing big distances to stop Cubsy. So Super Frogs can secure a late game advantage with mana in that regard, and then later in Dampening, Vampiric Touch will start overwhelming Frozen Orb as well, and this is the advantages of taking the Shadow Priest. And you also get defensive advantages, is that Dispersion is just available more often than Unending Resolve, and almost certainly guaranteed that you will survive, unlike Unending Resolve. Wealthy Man is more likely to be the target for the team of Method Orange as they grip him into the fight. Life Grip and Blink, a bit of an overlap, definitely a mistake on the part of the Super Frogs there. Not a major one, but potentially maybe showing some signs of weakness.
Yeah, definitely. There's the Frozen Orb and Blizzard once again dropped out on Sea-Doo, Mez, and Trill. They can easily heal through that damage at this point in the game, but later on, we always kind of talk about once that self-healing goes, once Sea-Doo's healing is limited, that AoE damage from the Frost Mage, from Wealthy Man, starts becoming very significant when paired, especially with that Shadow Priest. You can look at Snuts, and if you see little ghosts on the field, that's what Snuts is really focusing a lot of his damage on. Anytime he gets a Shadow Word Pain crit, I believe he sends out a Spirit, and that Spirit does additional damage, and most of his Azurite traits, Gearing, and Talents are focused around that build just to give him a little bit more instant damage.
Yep, good addition by Snuts, realizing that the enemy team will be line of sighting most of the fight, so trying to get access to more instant cast damage, some more spread pressure, so that deeper in Dampening he can overwhelm the opposing team. Cubsy just constantly looking for drinks. I do want to check if Cubsy is running that Feral Affinity. It could be risky if they decide to do an all-in on him, but at the same time, Feral Affinity is so much extra damage. Cubsy actually not running the Feral Affinity, running Balance Affinity. I'm checking if this is correct. Balance Affinity.
Yep, that's what he's been playing. I think he just wants the extra range on his spells, makes him way less susceptible to damage, makes it a lot more difficult, or for crowd control, makes it a lot more difficult for Mez and Trill to push in. Cubsy can always stay very far away, play very safe, as he knows that's really his main win condition.
All right, let's see. I would like to see them maybe gun down Cubsy deeper into Dampening now, which has advanced into the game with 3% currently. Mana tied. No real significant advantages for either side as we step foot into Dampening territory. Method Orange, everything's on the line here. They're on match point. They will be going into second place if they lose any game at this point. They need to win 3 in a row if they want to take this and be the champions of the North American Cup #2. They were able to come back today and overcome Never Lucky. They were knocked to the lower bracket by them, but now able to come up with better strategies and better play to overcome them. I was actually expecting Colo to win the tournament today, but Method Orange was able to adjust and overcome it. Now the Super Frogs seem to have found a good answer for the strategies that Method Orange employ, with that Mana Rift basically countered on that Destruction Warlock Frost Mage composition, allowing Cubsy to drink. Not even Sam-I-Am substitute on the Balance Druid was enough to overthrow it. And now moving on to Tolvaron Arena, Super Frogs have even more answers by bringing in Snuts on that Shadow Priest, which we've already seen be effective against a team like the boys, being able to kill Chun-Li. So I'm not sold here on Method Orange and their ability to make it all the way back. They're definitely going to need a lot of energy.
They haven't gotten any offense going in this game whatsoever, and the strategy of running and hiding, as long as Wealthy Man can get on one side of the pillar and Snuts can get on the other, this damage they're doing is going to end up being really significant, and Sea-Doo's going to have a really difficult time actually healing through it. But for now, Method Orange is stabilized. I'm just wondering when they're going to make that all-in offensive push. And is it going to be too little too late? We're already at 12% dampening. Things are starting to fall apart here for Method Orange just a little bit. Wealthy Man gets gripped in. Ring of Peace used by Trill, but unfortunately failed. Wealthy Man can just walk out of that quite easily. Cubsy in a great position to heal. Paralysis was used, but with Wealthy Man kiting away, Snuts is free casted damage. Silence on to Sea-Doo. Mez could be in some trouble. Icebound Fortitude forced out. Now Method Orange once again is on the run.
That's one major objective, and Mez is more and more the target deeper into Dampening. So not having that Icebound Fortitude for 3 minutes is crucial for the Super Frogs to find victory. Cubsy's got him in checkmate. They can't stop him from drinking. If they go to midfield, they'll just fall over and die. So this is great map selection, great strategy employed by the Super Frogs. Method Orange need brute force. They need the power of Zug Zug if they're going to find victory here against the Super Frogs. Otherwise, they're likely to just be rotted down and wither and fall before the power of Snuts' Shadow Priest.
I mean, that could definitely happen, but so far they have managed to stay healthy. The only problem is when they grip in Wealthy Man for these attempts, they don't have grip to take him back after he blinks. So Wealthy Man, if he survives the stun, he's able to easily blink away. Good pressure here now into Mez with silence on Sea-Doo. Mez in a little bit of trouble, has to activate the anti-magic shell. Snuts moves in, he's looking for a fear. Super Frogs, they want to close out this game. This is match point for Method Orange. They need to survive. Mez line of sighting should be able to. Sea-Doo in a polymorph. Once again, Sea-Doo, he's playing relentless, so he never has a trinket. Now making a swap. Mez backs him up with the anti-magic zone. Nice grounding totem, soaks up one of those Gladiator's Maledicts. Sea-Doo's been doing a great job with that so far in this match, but he has to play catch-up. Trill and Mez both rotting down.
Yeah, that Shadowy Apparitions build that Snuts is running is really tearing in. Look at all 3 targets of Sea-Doo's team just rotting down. Sea-Doo connects a couple of big heals with that Ascendance. It's not even stabilizing Mez, though. This is very unfortunate. Sea-Doo was relying on that Ascendance. It's not topping the team. Dampening might be too high. Silent stun combo. This could be it. Mez in trouble. Ducks around the corner. Catches a Death Strike off that Shadow Fiend. Good awareness on Mez's part. Healing Tide totem now burned through, so with Ascendance and Healing Tide out of the way, those are the major healing mechanics the Restoration Shaman can use against the Shadow Priest. He doesn't have those for 3 more minutes. We're already at 25% dampening, and if I'm Sea-Doo, I'm shaking.
I'm definitely shaking. Now Trill caught into a bash. Interrupt on Sea-Doo. Nice counterspell snuck in there by Wealthy Man. Now a Cyclone secured on Sea-Doo. Trill has to run away. Touch of Karma was forced out. Sea-Doo gonna have to play catch up. Mez caught in the middle of the map. Unfortunately, looking to run away with that anti-magic shell, but Super Frogs, they're feeling a lot more comfortable in this matchup to push in, get a little bit aggressive. Snut's not feeling too afraid. He's been moving in, getting fears, psychic auras, silences, but Method Orange might be able to punish that aggressiveness.
Sea-Doo polymorph. Sea-Doo gets bursted, or Snuts gets bursted. Fades, lands a Psychic Scream. Good crowd control. Trill could be in trouble. Dips low, gets Ursul's Vortex back into the fight. Trill's so low on health, diffuse magic. The only thing keeping him alive. Spearling totem, but Mez's Frost Nova with 1 inch outside of it. They're not going to get Mez's health on that. That Frost Nova was perfect. Sea-Doo gets Cyclone, he's still low on health. No big healing cooldowns for another 2 minutes. Sea-Doo's getting rotted down. Wealthy Man looks to snipe him. Snuts is being pressured as well. Definitely blows being exchanged on both sides here, but with 3 members rotting down, another minute and 20 seconds on that Ascendance, and Snuts is ready to just close this out.
Yeah, Cubsy's sitting down for a drink, wants to secure that mana lead. Interrupt on Sea-Doo. Wealthy Man and Snuts move in. Mez and Trill trying to find some pressure here on the Snuts as Method Orange is falling behind. Is Super Frogs going to be able to do it? Claim the 3rd cup out of 4 in North America. So much pressure, so much damage. Silence on Sea-Doo. Bash on Trill. Trill has no defensive left. He's forced to Transcendence away. Now Mez rotting down. Wealthy Man flicks in, looking to close out the game. Anti-magic zone, but now Sea-Doo, how is he going to recover his team's health?
Snuts is in void form. There is no light at the end of the tunnel for Sea-Doo. This might be a triple kill for the Super Frogs if they can keep their damage going a tad bit longer. Sea-Doo gets polymorphed. Wealthy Man looks to carry. Snuts gets bursted suddenly in a surprise attack. Dispersion exchanges. He's going to survive. Trill now has cooldowns. Mez now has cooldowns. Maybe they can make it out alive. Maybe that polymorph was a mistake. It healed Sea-Doo back to full health for free, and they didn't get a kill with it. Now Sea-Doo is starting to stabilize. 17 more seconds to his Ascendance. If he can get a clean reset, Snuts has no Gladiator's Medallion. If he gets bursted in a stun, he's not going to be able to Void Shift. There's 20 seconds until that Iron Bark. Sea-Doo needs to keep him going just a tad bit longer. They stun up Snuts. They burst him. They need a bit more damage than this. Doesn't look like they've got it. Snuts has got that Vampiric Embrace. Silent stun combo. Trill in trouble as Wealthy Man combos out. Trill stays alive for a couple more seconds. Ducks around the corner with that touch of Karma, holding on by a thread. Mez is now left in midfield. He's tanking huge hits, trying to get back behind the pillar, but Ursul's Vortex, he's able to immunate with Death's Advance. Desperately trying to avoid line of sight, but Wealthy Man's right there with a triple Frozen Orb. Snuts has got him cornered on the other side. They grip Snuts in. It's do or die for Method Orange.
Triple fear from Snuts. Mez, nothing left in the tank. How is Sea-Doo going to keep them alive?
That's it.
A big setup on the Snuts. Is he going to be able to get some Void Shift off? Might have to use it. Paralysis on Cubsy. He trinkets out with the Iron Bark. In the meantime, Trill getting low. Method Orange, do or die. Snuts gets interrupted. Is he going to get it off?
Oh my goodness!
He doesn't.
What?
Method Orange, the impossible, claims that game off the mistake of Snuts not using that Void Shift.
Time to carry them all of the way to a Game 7. Will it be enough, or will the Super Frogs be able to clean up some of their misplays and close this one out and take the 4th grand final of the year?
I can't believe that we're still here. I thought Sea-Doo's team was going to get knocked clean out 4-0, but miraculously off the back of sick plays and what is probably the most fatiguing series we've seen in a while, Method Orange managed to pull off a miracle, but they have to do it again and then again after that. So I don't know if I'm sold yet. They still need more energy.
Yeah, we'll have to see what exactly Method Orange is going to switch up in this matchup. What are they going to do? It looks like sitting behind the pillar is probably important for them. These cleave setups, it's just not favorable for them to be in the open. They're susceptible to crowd control. If Sea-Doo gets caught into a polymorph, into a fear, into a silence, that's an opportunity for Super Frogs to land a kill. Whereas for Mez and Trill, it's just so hard to have high uptime on a target and work through a lot of that Restoration Druid healing and try to start pulling out those defensive cooldowns. That's why we see a lot of these cleave compositions. They wait until a little bit more dampening when the Restoration Druid isn't as high, and they can start trading out a lot of those defensive cooldowns like the Diffuse Magic, Touch of Karma, Anti-Magic Shell, and they start getting favorable exchanges.
Snuts taking a couple hits here early on, but Cubsy running that Nourish build. Definitely want to be running that as a Druid when playing with 2 spellcasters. You can just stay max range. Also the Balance Affinity, which is interesting as you pointed out, can max range a lot of interrupts and crowd control. So the positioning of Super Frogs definitely fell apart at the end of the last game. If they were just very far apart from each other, Nourish would have probably been more than enough to keep Snuts alive. So Super Frogs need to stay on top of their positioning, deeper into dampening. Looks like they're trying to ramp up some pressure here onto Mez with that Frozen Orb plays down. And Method Orange can't afford to make any mistakes. Sea-Doo connects a couple big heals, but now Trill is low as well. Diffuse Magic, but Maledicts fly in on the Diffuse Magic. Sea-Doo's caught in Horrify. Trill portals out of line of sight. Catches a couple Vivifies. Ring of Pieces Snuts away from himself. Sea-Doo is still in mid. They might bash Sea-Doo and go Sea-Doo. They bash Sea-Doo. Void Form activated. Anti-Magic Zone. Gonna protect Sea-Doo. Might have been a bit of an overreaction though, because Wealthy Man held on to his Icy Veins. Now that defense won't be available to exchange for it.
Yeah, Double Fear by Snuts as he gets gripped behind the pillar. Really the main focus point in this matchup, and where we saw Super Frogs fall in the last game is they were able to get through the dispersion, get through the fade of Snuts, and then get an interrupt and avoid him using that life shift and that void shift, which is basically a life swap at any point with that void shift. It's a long cooldown. He can exchange his hit points for someone else. Snuts getting bursted down just a little bit, but in the midfield, Wealthy Man's going to be able to get a decent amount of counter pressure. Nice death grip on the Cubsy into a double leg sweep. Classic Windwalker Death Knight setup here as that forces out a dispersion on Snuts.
Clean play on Method Orange. See what they can get done. With Touch of Death available and no Gliders Medallion on 8. Unlikely that they have a stun, though, to really pair it together to kill Snuts. Looks like Method Orange are just going to happily sit at the pillar saying, yep, good job, guys. We got the dispersion. Let's just chill out for a second, not get ahead of ourselves. If we stay too far out, there's the grip into the stun. Can they KO? Is Trill going to go for the all-in? They've stolen a poly. I'm very surprised to not see Touch of Death from Trill in this advance. I mean, Mez got a full polymorph. Really not going to go for it there. Trill holds on to it. Maybe he wants to go on to Wealthy Man with no Gliders Medallion later on. That seemed like a good opportunity, didn't it, Ben?
I think Snuts might have still had his fade. So if he touches death and Snuts fades it, it's basically a waste. So they have to sort of get through the fade as well as the dispersion, or basically have Snuts with no trinket. And that's really where they want to push with that Touch of Death. But maybe they could have forced it out. Snuts did end up fading to escape. And I think that's one thing Snuts has been doing well, is whenever he is in a little bit of trouble, you can use that fade to create some space. It gives you a little bit of a speed boost. You can move away quickly, and it forces Mez and Trill to chase in the open.
Yeah, definitely will be the case. Mana even at this point between the Super Frogs and Method Orange as Method Orange look to do the impossible and reverse sweep 4 in a row against the Super Frogs in the grand finals of the North American Cup #4. They've had a long road to make it back here for a rematch against the Super Frogs. Can they do it is now the question. If Super Frogs manage to win this, they really assert dominance in the North American region in terms of points. They will significantly pass the boys, having already broken their tie and qualified to the spring finals. Method Orange have not earned enough points to safely say that they are in the same boat. So I would say there's more on the line in the short term for Method Orange to win this. Pre-tremor on that Psychic Scream. Nice play by Sea-Doo. Double interrupt. Really sick setup here by Method Orange.
Yeah, Snuts in a lot of trouble. Forced to use that Fireblood Racial as he's kiting in the middle of the map. He has to get a Dispel. Maledicts flying in from Method Orange. One thing I gotta say is Method Orange, they've been making really great pushes with these Maledicts, and Snuts could be in a little trouble. Does have Dispersion in the Void Shift, but Cubsy's gonna find the healing that he needs to keep him nice and stable in this matchup. Good job by Wealthy Man finding the polymorphs on Sea-Doo. Some decent damage on Mez. Now Method Orange, they might be looking to retreat, but no, they're pushing forward. They're just going to be attacking into Thorns. They don't care. They want to force out the dispersion on Snuts. They might be able to get it right here, right now.
Nice wind shear. Sea-Doo really carrying aggressively here. If you can interrupt Nourish, you definitely put the Druid behind, but Sea-Doo has to overextend and position in a really awkward and risky spot to be able to do that. It's managed to at least bank them some momentum, but now potentially punished by Wealthy Man as he sits through a polymorph. Trill in trouble around the corner on match point. Sea-Doo's trying to cross the distance. He walks into a Psychic Scream. No Tremor Totem. Trill in trouble. If Wealthy Man can get over there and finish him, Anti-Magic Zone. Trill runs around the corner. They stun Wealthy Man, but Sea-Doo is still so far away. Healing Tide Totem around the corner, healing his team, but now silenced. Polymorph DR, full polymorph. Mez and Trill still in a 3v2. Just holding on to dear life at this point, together around the corner. Managed to hold out.
Yeah, Icy Vein's going to be used by Wealthy Man as he wants to keep up the aggression that they found, but unfortunately, Method Orange has completely recovered. In those moments, Cubsy was just throwing in Solar Wraths, trying to take down Trill, and it was such a close call. I think he threw in like 8 in a row or something like that, so that little bit of extra damage Cubsy Man is able to use with the extra range from the Moonkin Affinity. Definitely going to be important in this matchup for them, and I don't think he's ever revealing the fact that he is the Moonkin Affinity. He's never going in the Moonkin form, so Method Orange can never really be sure that he doesn't have the Guardian Affinity, and I really like that from Cubsy.
Sea-Doo had to expend his main area of effect recovery mechanics, so Healing Tide Totem and Ascendance doesn't have those for slightly less than 3 minutes at this point, so any Frozen Orb damage, any Void Form damage on 3 targets will have to be power healed through from Sea-Doo, and with dampening in the game, that may not even be possible. Superfrog set themselves up well strategically in the last match as well as this one. They just need to focus on their positioning later into the fight so that they're not stacked up for crowd control, exchange their cooldowns, and then overwhelm Method Orange, and Superfrog should be able to take this. Can Sea-Doo manage to do it? Can he manage to pull off the upset? They're just hanging on to dear life at this point, looking for any opportunities that expose themselves. Snuts gets gripped in and bursted down. They interrupt Wealthy Man on his support. Huge damage actually following up, but a Swift Mend, is that going to be enough? They really need to try and get an Iron Bark with this push. They're spending a lot of time in midfield to go for it. Now Sea-Doo is crowd controlled. Trill gets bursted. Gladiator's Maledict plays. Sea-Doo dispels it. Another one in from Wealthy Man. Diffuse Magic removes that. No third attempt. Snuts repositioned, but Sea-Doo gets counterspelled. Wealthy Man trying to end this. Trill, if he uses Touch of Karma on the Mage, can ice block it.
Uh-oh.
Trill's able to recover, but now they've left Mez behind. He's trying to make it back to the team.
Yeah, manages to do so, and once again, Method Orange on a defensive position, or in a defensive position behind this pillar. Snuts didn't have to use anything in that exchange, though. Superfrogs managed to greet it out. Cubsy didn't even trade out his Iron Bark, so they're going to be feeling completely healthy. Once again, Method Orange going to be moving in, but this time, Trill doesn't have the luxury of having that diffuse magic, unfortunately for him. Method Orange just crossing the map to this other pillar. They want to take advantage of this larger pillar to grip Snuts out of line of sight, putting out a significant amount of damage. Capacitor stun onto Snuts out of the leg sweep. Ring of Peace gets used, denying Snuts to retreat to Cubsy. Cubsy in a great spot to easily heal up Snuts. Position very far away with the extra range on his abilities from that balance affinity. I'm curious, Sid, how do you feel like that's paying off?
I mean, Feral Affinity would be maybe a bit of extra damage to end the game. It doesn't seem like Guardian Affinity is necessary, so it's more of a stall-based tactic to go with the Balance Affinity and max range crowd control and add some extra damage and drink safely as well, so it's definitely the safer pick overall. I just would prefer to see Feral Affinity because it's fun to watch Feral Affinity and watch the rest of Druid run around trying to kill people, but Cubsy obviously in a tournament setting wants to take the lowest potential risk if he can to find victory. Crowd control initiated by Method Orange, but also on the side of the Superfrog. Snuts gets bursted. Can't afford to throw. If they lose on Ashamanes, they've then lost both of their best maps.
Yeah, and that's going to be devastating for Snuts. Activating Vampiric Embrace as well as his Void Form, getting a lot of additional healing on himself, helping Cubsy out quite a bit. Snuts now in a great position to get some damage out onto Sea-Doo, Mez, and Trill. Wealthy Man on the other side of the pillar. Blizzard has been dropped down as well as the Frozen Orb. Snuts gets gripped in once again. Cubsy might have to play catch up here. He does have Thorns. He will activate it, trying to just force Method Orange to run away. They don't want to be attacking into that Thorn. Sea-Doo doesn't want to expend the amount of mana he really needs to in order to get rid of that buff. That's going to allow Snuts to do additional damage to Trill and Mez every time they attack. Now that that's faded, Mez and Trill going to be pushing in, and Trill still has a lot of his defensive cooldowns available. Getting low, though. This is dangerous for Trill. He's trying to heal himself up. He's going to be activating the Fortifying Brew, but Snuts in a great position, running away from the pillar once again. Now Mez left all alone, looking to run away. Gets Tiger's Lust, I believe, from Trill to retreat back to the pillar.
We are in 33% dampening of a nail-biter grand final. If you're just tuning in, you definitely want to let your friends know. Join in on this. Maybe with less nail-biting, it's kind of gross. Mez gets bursted down. Trill's trying to push for a big cooldown. Touch of Death activated. If they can get a dispersion with this, it would be critical. Maybe just get a kill. Huge damage. Snuts fades. Denies it for now. Nourish. Cubsy needs to be careful. Seadu's crossing the map to wind shear him. Seadu's ready and waiting, but he gets polymorphed and clotheslined by Wealthy Man. Now Mez is exposed in midfield, but they activated the Earthen Wall Totem just before that push. Mez is leaving the safety of that Earthen Wall Totem. This is very... The silence dispels the anti-magic shield. He has to drink it to gain access to its defense. He's still low on health. Mez throwing the game a bit there by leaving the defense of that Earthen Wall Totem prematurely. Seadu has to give up on the push and reposition.
Yeah, but Snuts still with dispersion, still with Void Shift. Great, Mez getting low. Super Frogs looking to close out this game. Mez still has the anti-magic zone. He's not trading it out. Greedy times for Method Orange as CD finally connects the Spirit Link. Now into a full polymorph. Mez into a Psychic Horror. Do the Super Frogs have the damage? Flurry connects from Wealthy Man onto Mez. Now Mez activating the anti-magic zone, tanking out a lot of this damage, looking to line of sight, but Method Orange in that exchange basically traded out everything, and Mez is such a vulnerable target, it is going to be difficult for them to really move in.
I mean, Method Orange were in the same position just a game ago, so I don't want to count them out just yet, but this should be the Super Frog series. Can Method Orange manage to do it? They win shear Cubsy on the heel. Seadu trying to hit this, but he gets Psychic Screamed. Mez is now alone. Anti-magic shield soaks up some hits. Trill is Ursul's Vortex in midfield. He's going to get a blasting. Wealthy Man's repositioned around the corner, blinking right on top of Method Orange, trying to get a polymorph. Bold moves by Wealthy Man, but when you're 2 blocks ahead, this much momentum, I don't really blame Wealthy Man. He's still got a game to go away. He definitely needs to be a bit more aggressive if he wants to close this out. Mez and Trill both under fire. No area of effect healing for some time. Touch of Karma available. Has to trade immediately as he is stunned up, but manages to stay alive. Maledics are flying in. Seadu tries to reposition. Everyone on his team is just dead, and I feel like I say that so many times, and they still manage to win, Ben.
Yeah, they're still all alive at this point, but Snuts has been so much more greedy with his dispersion in this matchup. He's been holding on to his trinket, still has the Void Shift. He does not want to throw away this game, playing very, very patiently. Wealthy Man has been the main man on the team to push in and get aggressive on Method Orange. Mez falling a little bit behind, with Snuts not being a very vulnerable target. This is difficult for Method Orange, as he is the main kill opportunity for them in this matchup. Earthen Wall Totem gets dropped down to sort of soak up the Blizzard and Frozen Orb. Mez in midfield, incapacitate onto Cubsy. Touch of Death committed on Snuts. Now using the dispersion, he's going to be avoiding a lot of that incoming damage. Now Mez on the run with the polymorph on Seadu. Method Orange, I don't know if what it takes to really close out this game at this point.
Trill gets bursted.
Oh no!
Fuse it. Basically no health. He's stuck in midfield. Wealthy Man is blasting. He ports. That Glyrus Maledict soaking all the heals. Wealthy Man blinks in. Wealthy Man has just had enough of this. Just die, Method Orange at this point. They're just holding on to dear life, but refuse to ultimately go down. Wealthy Man now overextended Temporal Shield. Wealthy Man's just bouncing, pressing Iceland, saying please end. Anti-magic zone denies the kill again for just a few more seconds. Can they live to that ascendance? There's nothing left. Ray of Frost fully channeled, and Super Frogs finally close it out 4-2 against.
Even got here in the first place, and you have to give it up to Method Orange. They had one really tough problem, and that was taking down Never Lucky. Never Lucky was the team that knocked them down. They figure out a way to do that. They get their rematch in the grand finals, but it was super